Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. It is time once again for previews. And joining me as always is my good friend, previews enthusiast, George from the still defunct George and Tony Entertainment Show. Hey, George.
Greetings from approximately 1,000 miles north of Key West, Florida, where I was last week, Eric, and about 2,300 miles east of the site of Rose City Comic Con, where you and some of your other co-hosts and fellow podcasters will be in a few short weeks, and I'm very jealous of that.
Which, jealous? Talk about jealous. Key West?
Yeah, just got back.
Wow.
And silly me, I think on your show, before maybe the last previews episode, I revealed to you and your listeners that I had brought Moby Dick with me on my honeymoon. Didn't get touched, but I brought it with me.
That's right.
I wasn't as ambitious on a Key West trip this time, but I did bring DC and Marvel previews with me, thinking I'd read them on the airplane, and that didn't happen. So it's been a cram session for me since I got back. Couldn't even fit them in.
You know, people may remember as George and I talk to each other and do these episodes, we do it over Skype video. And so yes. I have to say, George, I was noticing it looked like you got a little bit of sun there.
Yeah. We were down in Florida for, I think, 9 or 10 days because it was a week in Key West and then a couple of days in Orlando.
Oh my gosh.
And we did Disney Springs, did Epcot, had a character breakfast, and then came home. Yep, there you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I drank around the world, everybody. So I may have some color on me, but I have a few more extra pounds thanks to the alcohol in all the different countries in Epcot.
Well, you know, you gotta bulk up for winter, right?
Yeah, that's actually that. I like that theory, and it goes with all the food I ate in Key West. I had a lot of seafood down there and a lot of drinks and stuff. I guess I shouldn't reveal all this stuff.
Yeah,
but you're going to have fun when you go to Rose City.
Yes.
With you and your buddies, your co-hosts. And I wanted to let you and the co-hosts know that if you do record when you're down there, when you're over there, I have come up with names for the show that you post. And if I may, I'd like to share the two names I came up with.
Let's hear them.
Okay. Compatriots at a con consuming coffee, or podcasters at a pub pounding pilsners.
That's probably the more likely one.
Okay. And let's remember, everybody, a little, oh boy, I can't even say it. A little alliteration never hurt anybody.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny you mentioned Rose City Comic Con, George, because as we record this, the day that we're recording, I got my Rose City Comic Con badges in the mail.
I stalk you, I follow you and some of the other guys on Twitter, and I noticed that you were a little concerned when you hadn't received yours yet. So I'm glad to hear that you got yours.
Yes. So I'll be joining Damien, Sleepy Reader 666 on Twitter and YouTube, and Matt, which is Wednesday's Serial on YouTube. So they'll be there. So yeah, those are the people you're referring to, and I'll get to see, and we'll do. I'm sure we'll get together and talk about the con, and yeah, I can't wait. This is the con. Rose City Comic Con is basically my family's vacation for this year. So everybody's looking forward to this. And
of course, we're also talking about the guys from the Never Stay Dead podcast, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And of course, you and I are the first two recipients of the Never Stay No Prize.
Really? What was that for?
You haven't listened to the recent episode?
No, I haven't, because is it you're talking about the? They just released an episode at the time of this recording that is about the Galactus saga
trilogy.
Fantastic Four.
A great episode. Listen to it, everybody.
See, okay, so the reason I haven't listened to it yet, because their podcast goes right to the top of my listening feed normally, is that I decided to go back and pull out my Fantastic Four issues and read the trilogy and then listen to the show.
You don't have those original.
I have 49 and 50.
Do you really?
I do, yes.
And so you're going to pull those out and not reprints. You're actually going to pull them out. Wow.
Yeah. But
and you know which box they're. Oh, well, why am I asking you? I know you know.
Well, they're
which box.
I know they're in a box just over my shoulder here. I don't know which one exactly, but I have a pretty good idea. But yeah, no. Last night I read 48. I don't have originally. I have the True Believers. Remember, I think we talked about this a previews episode or two ago, where they had Marvel was releasing a bunch of Fantastic Four reprints, and I got the reprint of 48. So I read that last night.
That was the reprint one, 48?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, because that would have been the first Silver Surfer?
Yes.
And Galactus at the end of it?
Exactly. With the weird...
And the only reason I remember that, I know it, is because I listened to the episode. So.
Yeah, with the weird costume with the G as his chest insignia. Yeah.
I loved hearing them talk about it.
This is great. I can't wait to listen to that now.
Yeah, read them. So now you still have to read 49 and 50, though, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to pull them out and read them this weekend. So
okay, there you go. So now you have some homework. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to give you homework. I mean, school's starting. And as we were discussing before the mics went hot, down in Florida, they just started school already. And here we are at August 16th. So, yeah, they've already started school.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, George, like George said, we were talking about this before, and my girls don't start for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And yet those poor Floridian kids are in school already.
Yeah, I hope they get out earlier than everybody else does.
Yeah, I would hope so.
But now we know why back to school starts so early. I mean, it's not just the college kids. I mean, you never know when anybody's going to start these days.
Or wait, George, do you think is it maybe that they get an automatic 2 weeks off sometime during the school year so they can go to Disneyland or Disney World?
That could very well be.
I bet that's law in the state of Florida.
Yeah, and they almost have their annual passes, so they must want to use them before all of us tourists come down.
That's right. Before you go drink yourself into oblivion at Epcot, right?
And have a character breakfast.
I'm very jealous of that, by the way. Okay, well,
both legs of that trip were a lot of fun, though, I'll say.
Good. I'm glad you had a good time.
Thanks. Oh, and I did have an opportunity to listen to you and Madison talk about Smile.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
And if no one else has heard it yet, what would it be? The episode or two before this one?
Probably the one before this one, yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a message for Madison.
Okay.
You're a co-host of that episode. I want to let her know that poop emojis rule. And
she'll be glad to know that.
I learned something from that episode, Eric, and I'm going to say this to the listeners. Listeners, don't lend your books to Eric. Apparently, he does not return them.
No, I do return them. I just take a long time.
Mm-hmm. Madison might have something to say about that.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny. It's so weird how in sync we are, George, because you mentioned episode 146, Raina Telgemeier's Smile, yes. If I may so self-promote. And I can because it's my show. But I just re-listened to that episode today at work.
Did you?
Yeah, because I had so much fun recording with Madison.
Yeah,
I can't wait to do it again. So I'm looking forward to her coming back onto the show.
Well, I will play the role of all your listeners. I'll be the spokesperson, and since you can hear it rather than see it on Twitter, I think we all can't wait to hear you talk about her next graphic novel. Mm. So get to recording.
All right, but first, we must do this recording, which is the August 2018 previews containing wonderful items for us geeky people that will ship starting mostly in October.
Yeah, Halloween. Ooh.
The Halloween one, yes. I think we've done one of these Halloween-themed previews episodes before, maybe a year or two ago.
We probably did, yes. And I will say this, going back down to my Florida trip, I did notice that some of the Disney sites that I follow on Twitter made a note of posting that it is now Halloween in the Magic Kingdom. So even they jump on the bandwagon pretty early.
Wow.
With the pumpkins in mid-August, yes.
Mid-August, really? That's just crazy.
I was actually at the Magic Kingdom last year at about this time right now. And the pumpkins were there.
Wow.
So I can attest to how weird it is to be in the sweltering heat in mid-August and see the pumpkins and all the fall-related paraphernalia.
I guess, they want to get a good couple months in, right? Because as soon as Halloween's over, it's not like Christmas where you can kind of extend it a week or two beyond. You got the New Year's holiday, and I mean, I know some people leave their Christmas lights on year round. I'm not one of them, but you kind of have a little bit of overlap there. But Halloween probably not so much in terms of like the theme parks and stuff.
Right. And heck, even the Hallmark Channel is going to start their Christmas movie marathon on October 26th, everybody. Something we would always remind you about on the George and Tony Entertainment Show. Right. But since we're still defunct, I will do it right here.
That's fine. That's good. Okay. So let's hop to it, George. Let's go to the main previews book. We'll start with Image Comics. And oh, wait, before we get to that, I want to warn the listeners, this might be a longish episode. As I put out on Twitter the other day, I have about 60 items on the list. George told me that he has a comparable number. And so, there you go. So for people like Sergeant America on Twitter who requested that, let it be as long as you want because he needs something to listen to on a drive that he's going on.
And listen, we do it for Sergeant America. We're patriots and we do it for him.
Yes. And I think also Damien said something essentially the same, saying just record away. So we'll do our best not to make it too long.
That's right.
Because I never want to go to the 4-hour mark like I did on episode 100.
But let's face it, Labor Day's coming. Jerry Lewis used to have his muscular dystrophy telethon. Telethons have gone by the wayside with all the different other ways people can raise money. But here at Longbox Review, we want to keep the tradition alive. So we have an Ed McMahon stand-in over here. We have a Timpani. We have Tony Orlando and Dawn over in New York. And we're ready to go.
We have none of those things, folks.
Oh, you have little faith.
Yeah, but it's nice. Okay, for real now. Let's go ahead and jump into Image Comics. Whoa,
wait a minute. Whoa. You're not going to talk about any of the Comic Fest stuff?
Oh, fine.
I'm just going to throw in one thing.
That's right.
I am not the type of person to get these little figures that come out, but there's a Halloween Comic Fest Marvel Deadpool Daydream figure that looks freaking adorable. It's on page 35 for those of you following along.
Okay, that is pretty adorable.
Yeah, it's adorable, folks. So if you're following along, page 35, check it out, and hopefully your local comic shop will have that on Halloween Comic Fest Day. When is that anyway? The Saturday before Halloween?
October 27th.
Yes, there you go. So mark your calendar.
Yeah.
All right, so now Image Comics.
I don't think I've ever been to a comic fest at a local comic shop before.
That's because you don't have any real close, right? That you've always said that you have to rely on.
Yeah, I don't.
DCPS, right?
Yeah, well, I do have one in town, but I don't know if they participate in things like this. They're kind of small.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I should check. I know they do free comic book day because we went there this year. So I'll check it out. I'm sure Madison will enjoy going there too.
Well, I know it's one heck of a commute, but you could always come out here and check out Comic Logic over by me.
All right. What do you got for Image, George?
Well, it's your show, Eric. Why don't you start? Because I have the feeling you and I are going to overlap at least on the first one.
Okay, so my first one from Image is Blackbird.
Wait, what?
On page 40. This is the new book. Writer is Sam Humphries, but why I'm calling it out is because Jen Bartel is doing the art on this.
Okay, once again, we're in sync. That's exactly why I have it listed.
Yeah. Jen Bartel is an artist I discovered on, but I found her on Instagram some time ago. I'm like, wow, she has really beautiful, amazing art. And now she's got a book here, Blackbird. So that's something to take a look at. I love the color palette that she plays in.
Yeah. She very recent. There was, how every day there's always some sort of a different hashtag, and where everybody's encouraged to do something on Twitter, share a story, do something, whatever. Very recently, I don't know if it was today or in the last couple of days, there was a hashtag "Tell Your Rejection Stories" or something like that.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And I liked her stream of tweets regarding how she got discouraged. People even told her that she didn't have the right style. She was ready to settle into a 9-to-5 job. And here's an example of somebody where we're pretty glad she didn't settle into a 9-to-5 job. I mean, if anybody's following along, not only the cover on page 40, but some of the sample art on page 4, the preview art on page 42, there's a great close-up of, I guess, Blackbird, the main character. And man, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I like that they give you 3 pages of preview art.
Yes,
in here, so you get a good sense of how the book's going to look. And I really appreciate that. I wish more new books coming out in previews would do that. Usually, you get a page.
Exactly, if you're lucky enough.
And that's we're talking about like the major publishers like Image and whatnot. So
right, yeah. And only usually for these number ones. And Image has a lot of number ones this month. I almost checked off every number one, but I figure I only checked off the ones that interested me. How about you?
That's what I do.
What would
too.
be your next? Are there any other number ones that got your attention?
Yeah, there's a couple here.
What's your next one?
The next one is on page 50, Exorcisters.
Ding, ding, ding.
Really?
Ed McMahon, timpani.
Yeah.
Yes.
Writer Ian Boothby and artist Giselle Legacy. Anyway.
Yeah, you got me.
I just, mostly it's just that's a cool title, Exorcisters.
It is. Uh-huh.
But yeah, that premise is pretty cool.
Seen something like that before?
Yeah.
And
the preview art is this wedding that's going on, but then a demon shows up and drags the groom to hell, and only the bride remembers it, and so she employs these exorcisters to help her out. So I thought that's a pretty interesting concept.
It is. I was negligent in my duties, and I didn't call out that, I thought I spent a lot of my vacation, but I feel better now knowing it would cost us $94,699.03 to purchase all 3,466 items in this catalog. So just because you have 60 items and I probably have the equivalent of that, percentage-wise, I don't think we're doing so bad.
I'm glad you point that out every time, George.
And of course, just because you have 60 items doesn't mean you're buying them all.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, these are just things that interest us.
If I had the money, I'd be buying a lot of these things.
That's right. I spent all mine in Key West at a little bar called Sloppy Joe's. No, just kidding.
What's next on your list?
Well, the other one other thing that came to my attention was Infinite Dark #1.
Yep, that's mine too.
It really? Okay, Ed. I don't know why. I've got to admit, while it came to my attention, this is probably something I will not purchase. And I hate to call out the things I'm not going to purchase. But I mean, this solicit of the universe ended, but on board the void station Orpheus, a skeleton crew of humanity survived. The last 2,000 souls waiting for a second Big Bang that may never come. 2 years later, there's the first murder on the station. And as we always say, hilarity ensues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says,
I don't know. That art looks good. The premise is good. Just caught my attention.
Oh, yeah. I'm always looking for a cool sci-fi concept, and this seems to be scratching that itch. This is from writer Ryan Cady. And the artist, and that cover image, George, is what really drew me in initially, by Andrea Muti.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really tempted to get this book.
I marked off a couple of the other #1s too, but to be honest with you, I only marked them off because they were #1s. And I felt on a preview show sometimes maybe we should be calling out these new titles and stuff. But you know something? I'm going to skip those. But if you had any that you liked, Eric, please let us know.
I just have, because it's Halloween, Halloween-themed previews. There's and I've never read this, but it's Scott Snyder's and artist Jock Witch's The Bad Egg Halloween Special one-shot. This is supposed to be, it's a standalone story, it says, and a prequel to as it says here, the highly anticipated Witches Volume 2. This collects the entire Image Plus magazine run and another 13 pages. So you get how much is this? $7.99 for 80 pages.
I've been reading that in Image Plus.
Oh yeah,
and I've been enjoying it.
I've heard it's good, but I've never read it.
The extra 13 pages, of course, would be something that none of us would have read before. But what I've been following, it's been at the end of each Image Plus that you get with your previews magazine.
Well, you won't be getting those anymore because I believe the last Image Plus that came out with this previews
is it the last one?
Yeah, I think
so. Oh, really?
So.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I know it's ending. If it's not this issue, it's soon.
I didn't realize that. Okay. It's too bad. I was enjoying some of those articles in there.
Yeah, I'm curious why they decided to end it.
Any other number ones, Eric?
No, I just there's a couple existing or ongoing comics I just want to point out just for their
any trades that got you?
Not with Image, not this time. No.
Well, I thought it was interesting that they've got that Bingo Love Volume 1, the Jackpot Edition, a hardcover and a trade paperback with a lot of extras. That was the comic by T. Franklin, and there are a lot of great creators providing extra content in this edition here. So if anybody even bought Bingo Love in single issues, you might want to consider purchasing this just for the extra material. And of course, if you didn't get Bingo Love, you might want to check it out anyway, and you have the choice of a hardcover or a trade paperback.
Yeah, I was just gonna note that too. It's unusual to see a hardcover and softcover solicitation at the same time like that.
And they give us the impression that you get the same material in both. There is no advantage of the hardcover having any extra material in it, so it's just more, if you like, having a hardcover on your bookshelf as opposed to a trade paperback. Do you read Black Science?
Not in a long time. I got the first 6 issues or so, and that's the last time I read it.
Well, also on page 62, I didn't call it the page that Bingo Love was on, they've got the 8th volume trade paperback of Black Science. And I got to say, I've been buying the hardcover versions of that. And I did that on the recommendation of somebody I work with. And I'm glad that he turned me on to it. I mean, I was aware of it, passed on it, had a DCBS coupon, a gift certificate that somebody had given me. And I used that, a portion of that, to purchase the first hardcover collection of Black Science. And just like you say, you're looking for those sci-fi stories to scratch those itches. Black Science does that for sci-fi and for time travel for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know Travis is a big fan of that book too.
And you've always shouted out the praises of The Fade Out by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and the trade paperback of that is on page 64. So people like me who have never read it before may be able to take advantage at $25, the Fade Out trade paperback.
Wow. I feel like a really bad fan because that should have been on my list to note. So I'm glad you picked up my slack there, George. Thank you.
But I mean, you've read it already. So
but I would want to, tout it and get people to buy the trade because that is probably my favorite story that Brubaker and Phillips have done so far.
And I think you've said that in the past on the show. All right, so now we're down to more like pull list type things with Image. Okay. You're not buying Hey Kids comics by Howard Chaykin, are you? Okay, so number 3 is coming out. I passed on it. I don't think I made a mistake passing on it, but it does look a little interesting. And I would be curious if anybody is picking this up. I think the first one just came out very recently as of this recording. So number 3 is being solicited on page 79. And just the concept itself is very interesting. So I would be interested if any of your listeners are reading that. What is part of your what is on your pull list from Image?
Well, the one thing I'll mention is this goes back to what I was going to say earlier. Paper Girls number 25 is a season finale issue.
That's on my pull list.
Yeah, and a book that I read the first trade digitally, Wayward, number 30, is the final issue. So, and now that I know that it's ending, I feel more compelled now to go get the other volumes because I really enjoyed that. That first
Wayward
volume
is the only other book that I wait for the hardcover compilation that has 10 issues in it. And now knowing that this is here, I know in a month or 2 or 3, that last volume will come out and I'll have them all and I can read them all at once. Jim Zub's is a good writer. I like what he does. And I am very interested to see where he takes Wayward and how he ends it.
Yeah, for sure.
And for anybody, these aren't on my pull list, but I've always been curious about Ice Cream Man. And Ice Cream Man number 8 is solicited on page 80. I don't know if any of your listeners read that. And the new Man-Eaters, you and I had discussed that last month.
Yeah.
No, number 2 comes out. I still have to admit it's very intriguing, but I did not pull the trigger on that one. But I'd like to call it out to those of you who might be interested or did take a chance with number 1. Of course, number 1 hasn't come out yet, but you might want to consider pre-ordering number 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't be like me and wait for the trade.
But Paper Girls, definitely. I'm trying to see if I mark. I like Skyward. And Skyward number 7 is solicited on page 92. And I got to tell you, Savage Dragon at number 239 on page 91. I've never read an issue of Savage Dragon, but go Savage Dragon. That cover is almost like Eric Larson almost draws like he's an amalgam of John Byrne and Jack Kirby. I don't know how else to describe him.
That's a really good combination, I think.
I do too. And yet I haven't read any of his Savage Dragon run.
I'm sure I've said this before whenever Savage Dragon has been brought up, maybe even last time we talked, George, but that's a series that eventually I want to dip my toes in and, get some trades and find out how good it is. I mean, what'd you say? What's the issue number?
239.
239. So, if it goes another 60 issues or so, it'll be one of the longest running comics in recent history.
Exactly.
Well, besides action and detective.
Right. Despite all their renumbering.
Yeah.
Although they only really had one renumber and one renumber back. I guess those 2 in particular. Oh, and I also have Unnatural on my pull list. Unnatural number 4 of 12. I think I mentioned that last time around. That's on page 96 if anybody's interested. Little anthropomorphic adult content there. Anything else for Image?
Not for me.
Want to go over to Dark Horse?
Yep.
All right.
And the big one there, starting off...
I'm not even looking at my notes. I'm really bad at this. Because I decided that instead of going through the book, I'll make notes. And I'm going through the book and I'm ignoring my notes. So stupid. Not like I didn't say what I wanted to say or point out what I wanted to point out, but I am horrible at this. If anybody has never listened to the still defunct George and Tony Entertainment Show, we did fly by the seat of our pants.
Mm-hmm.
We only had bullet points. We didn't have more than that. And while I think that's what made us very entertaining, that format doesn't help out with Eric's show. In fact, if anything, I bring them down. But I carry some of George and Tony over to Longbox Review every time Eric has me on.
Got to keep the flame alive, George.
I have to keep fooling myself that people care. Anyway, what do you have at Dark Horse?
Well, now right off the bat with Dark Horse, you got a new Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
On page 100 here.
Did you read either volume of Umbrella Academy?
Yeah, I believe I think that's the trades that my buddy Travis gave me years ago, and I really enjoyed it.
Are you still enjoying them on your bookshelf?
It's that or some other series that I can't remember. But anyway,
so let's move on.
This is what Gerard Way is coming back to after abandoning his imprint at DC Comics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not bitter at all.
And
But yeah, Umbrella Academy, it's a new miniseries for those.
it looks like
Gerard
they have
Way fans.
a Netflix series coming out soon.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned the bitter thing, because I wonder,
Yeah.
that was coming. So it's like, oh, let's do a comic to help drum up some sales. And, what about all those other stuff other comics you were curating at another company?
Right, exactly. Which you were enjoying.
Yeah.
From what I remember. I mean, you were enjoying most of it.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah. I only read the first volume of Umbrella Academy. I liked it. I just never got the second volume. Now, if I recall correctly, you and your granddaughters and your wife, I thought your wife did too, like Stranger Things?
The TV show? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we all love it.
Now, I forgot from last month's previews episode, were you interested in the Stranger Things comic from Dark Horse?
Not in the sense of that I really want to get it.
Okay, because number 2 is here on page 104 for those of you following along.
I tend not to go for TV tie-ins unless it's Star Trek related.
Which we'll get into that a little later. I think I mentioned last month that I was interested in Mystery Science Theater 3000, this comic book adaptation here. And number 2 is solicited on page 106, and I am going to go for it.
Oh, good. You have to let me know
Looks
how
like
that
a lot
is.
of fun. Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
On the next page, George, there's The Whispering Dark.
Yes.
From Christopher Emgard and Tomas Era. It's a miniseries. I liked how they described this. An army pilot confronts a supernatural horror in this thriller in the tradition of Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness and Coppola's Apocalypse Now. I mean, come on, that just begs you to read it.
Now, is that a miniseries? That's a miniseries,
Yeah,
but they
miniseries.
don't tell you how long, right?
Yeah, I wish they would.
Yeah. But they do at least admit it's a miniseries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I really hate that what some publishers do and seem to be a trend in the last few years, which is announce a new series, here's a new number 1, and then a few issues later you find out, oh, it's actually a miniseries because they weren't selling well. Or it was always a miniseries, but they decided not to announce that because it could turn into an ongoing series if the sales were good.
Right.
Either way, I don't like that practice.
I agree. And I've heard other people lament about it, so I don't think you and I are in the minority. I know last month you and I had talked about Olivia Twist, which is on page 108. Did you pull the trigger on that?
I did not.
And I have to say, sadly enough, I did not either.
I had to make some cuts.
Yeah. It did not survive the culling, although reading the solicit, and it still looks like an interesting book. I'm not totally writing it off as something maybe I wouldn't purchase later on, but I would be interested if any of your listeners picked it up just because we happened to bring it up, call it to their attention or anything, and whether or not they enjoy it. Of course, number 1, once again, since everything is solicited far in advance, number 1 hasn't come out yet, so nobody knows.
Yeah.
It looks like that She Could Fly miniseries from Dark Horse is ending with number 4. That was a miniseries. That's also on page 108. The mysteries of, I guess, the woman who flies, or the woman who flew, right? It wasn't a solicit. She died, and then there was a girl who was really obsessed with who was this mysterious woman who knew who could fly.
Right.
So I guess all the mysteries are solved in that.
Or are they?
Exactly. Will there be a sequel? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
In fact, let's find out. Let's go back to New York with Tony Orlando and Dawn. Tony, take it away. No, sorry. That's Labor Day. Why do I confuse things?
On page 111, I just want to note Black Hammer number 6.
Yeah.
Different artist.
Mm-hmm.
Rich Tommaso is doing the art. I'm not sure why that is, because this is, it says here, the Eisner Award-winning superhero saga returns. And so, I don't know how I feel about that, because I really liked the artist that we've had so far.
Well, I wonder if it's specifically because of what is going on in this particular issue. After the shocking revelations in the last issue, Colonel Weird finds himself a stranger in a strange land where reality is ever changing. So maybe this was the type of issue to get somebody else, and maybe a guy like Rich Tomaso might add his cartoony flair to it so that it would be really different and freaky and fun for us to check out. So hopefully maybe it's a one-off. Maybe it's a one-off.
Yeah.
But don't forget Quantum Age on the facing page, 108.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're getting that.
I am. I just read issue 2 not too long ago.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's good, but it's not what I expected.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure how much I really like this. I was really excited about it.
Is it because of the Legion references or the Legion homages that you were expecting, or they're not there?
That's why I was excited about it. And that stuff's still there, but it's definitely a lot darker than even Black Hammer is in some ways. And so I don't know. I really tire of dystopian fiction. So
we do have a lot of it these days.
Yeah.
Well, I would be very happy to listen in 2029 when you and Peter do the Quantum Age podcast.
Yeah, I just asked him too if he'd had a chance to read that yet, and he hasn't.
Oh, he hasn't? Oh, okay. And for anybody who doesn't know, because I think you and I discussed it before the mics went hot, you and Peter Rios do another podcast called The Legion Project, which is in your feed and Peter's Daily Rios feed.
Right.
And I don't know why I say that, because anybody listening to your show knows this already. But you never know. This could be the first episode of Long Box Review for somebody. So we want them to know of all your content. All right. I'm going to just call this out to people, because if they do not know the work of P. Craig Russell.
That's on my list.
They may want to check. Now, you know what? Since it's on your list too, and I have no idea how to pronounce the last word in the title, how about you give it a shot?
Like,
it's your
I
show.
think I know.
It's your show.
I would say Ring of the Nibelung.
Okay, ding, ding, ding. I'll give it to you.
And I only included it because I've heard of this story, and this is being adapted by P. Craig Russell. But it's because of P. Craig Russell that I even mention it, because his art is amazing.
Yes. And I remember when I was a younger lad with more disposable income, and I could make a purchase based on somebody like P. Craig Russell doing the artwork on something I may have never heard of before, but because his artwork is so beautiful, I would just make the purchase. And I'm hoping somebody does that here, because if they've never seen his work before, they're missing out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did a brilliant story with, well, several, but one particular issue of Sandman with Neil Gaiman. That is
only one.
Well, I mean, no, I'm sure he did more. I'm pretty sure he did more than just the one, but the one I'm thinking of was the first. Is it right? Am I getting things confused? But the Shakespeare one.
Oh, okay.
Whose name I can't, the title of which I can't remember, but that was, I apologize to George and the listeners if I've told this story before, but that was the comic, one of the very few comics that I shared with one of my college writing instructors.
Okay. No, I don't remember that story.
And this particular instructor was my Shakespeare professor. And I took her the comic and I explained why I was giving it to her. And she looked at me like I was from Mars. I don't know if she actually read it. She said she did, but the way that she said it made me believe that she just probably glanced at it and tossed it aside.
That's too bad, because I used to have, well, I'm making it sound like now that I had multiple in-depth conversations, but I can recall having at least one conversation about a Thor comic with my English teacher back in like 7th or 8th grade. And I don't remember the details, but I think it was more along the lines of the mythology. Not necessarily what the story was going on in the comic at the time, but more which gods were being used and the references that were being made. And to have that kind of conversation with a teacher was a heck of a lot of fun. And of course, now I'm talking about me being a lot younger than you were when you wanted to share that with your professor. But I can tell from the way you tell the story that perhaps it was a little disappointing that you didn't have the kind of conversation you were hoping to have.
Yeah.
About that book.
Yep. It was definitely
with somebody who knew Shakespeare inside out.
Exactly.
Right.
It's definitely the wrong professor to have probably done that. That same professor also prevented me from attending. I'm gonna complain. Prevented me from attending a poetry workshop because you had to submit writing samples, and then a committee selected you. But she was on the committee, and I got the sense that she was in part to blame for my not being able to be on that poetry workshop. And I really, really wanted to be in that workshop for the poet that was conducting it.
And look, after all these years, the grudge.
Revenge is mine.
Yes. Maybe, just maybe, she had some sort of addiction problem. And now, or very soon, she will be going into a program and she will have to make amends. And you're going to get a knock on the door. And the reason for all of that is because she was under the influence of something, some substance. And she's going to apologize to you. And there will be closure. You never know, Eric. These things happen.
Yeah, I think pigs will fly first, George.
I'm going to make a confession here. I don't know if it's a confession that makes me have my geek, nerd, dork card, whatever revoked. But I have not seen Wreck-It Ralph.
I haven't either.
And with so we're both in the same boat. And with Ralph Breaks the Internet coming out this year, and I don't know if this is a Choose Your Own Adventure book being solicited by Dark Horse for the movie Ralph Breaks the Internet on page 114, it reminds me that A, I want to see this movie in the wintertime, but B, I first have to see Wreck-It Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
And C, it also reminds me that Disney licenses its product, its IP out there to a lot of companies. Dark Horse is not the only one putting out books like this, as you know, we'll see. Right. But they also have a Frozen book on page 115. So, and I think some other company puts out a Frozen comic book. I didn't think it was Dark Horse. I've seen it on the stands at Comic Logic. So unless it changed hands, maybe. I don't know if the license changed hands. I don't know. But Ralph Breaks the Internet, it looks like it's a Choose Your Own Adventure book on page 114 from Dark Horse.
You know, speaking of licensing changing hands, I just saw in the last couple of days that Joss Whedon announced that 20th Century Fox is breaking off their Buffy license from Dark Horse, and it'll be going somewhere else. Oh, is that why these are the last seasons of Buffy? Maybe, yeah, because that's what I was going to, is that you have the Buffy season 12 trade paperback on page 124 collecting that miniseries. And I think I mentioned this on one of the previous previews episodes, George, that I was waiting for the trade to find out how the series would end. Wow. So they lose Star Wars, and now they're losing Buffy. And it would make you think Buffy will go to another comic company for them to do new content going forward, and not just totally lose Buffy comics. Well, what do you think? Would it be no more Buffy comics anywhere? Or I'm sure that it'll land somewhere else. Well, doesn't Disney now own 20th Century Fox properties? Yeah. So who knows? And Disney is giving their other products over to Dark Horse, so I don't understand. I swear if it goes to Marvel. That doesn't seem part of Marvel's business plan to do anything but Star Wars stuff. Yeah. They don't have any Disney stuff. You know what I've been waiting for? I've been waiting for, in fact, it'll come up, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but DC's been having those crossovers with Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera characters, which we'll be talking about a little later. But why haven't we seen Marvel characters cross over with the Disney characters? Right? Wouldn't that be a natural? Yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense.
And I mean, they have those Tsum Tsum things, right? Then they cross. Those Tsum Tsum things. Didn't they meet the Marvel Universe or something like that very recently?
Yeah, but I imagine too, though, that if Marvel did that, they, the internet would cry foul. How dare you copy DC? Blah blah blah.
Well, didn't DC have a chance to do a Justice League Star Wars crossover, and it fell through?
Really? Because, I hadn't heard that.
Well, Alex Ross, when I went to that Alex Ross exhibit that you and I had discussed 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, we don't talk about that, George.
We don't. There were paintings that he had done that I think were supposed to be cover images of things like Superman versus Darth Vader. I forgot what Batman was doing.
No kidding.
Yeah, but now I'm rethinking what was on the little cards when the pictures were on the wall. I don't think he did it as a fan thing. I think it was a pitch. And there are paintings, Alex Ross paintings out there. They were in the exhibit. I know it wasn't a fever dream. And of course, it fell through. I don't know if it had anything to do with a pending thing with Star Wars going to Disney or anything like that, but maybe it was more they knew that they were going to create the new movies and they were in the pipeline, so they didn't want anything crossing over like that. Star Wars was Star Wars, and that was it. And they didn't want to dilute it in any way, or they didn't want to cross it over. Everything had to be in canon or something. I don't know. I don't know what the whole thing was, but those paintings exist.
Well, you know what looks like a painting to me, George, in previews here?
What would that be, Eric?
Is Blackwood, Volume 1 trade, Evan Dorkin and Veronica Fish. I
thought you were going to say Beasts of Burden right next to it.
Yeah, well, when the trade comes out, I will. Because I'm getting that when it comes out in trade. But Blackwood is one of those series where I was looking at wanting to get it and decided I would wait. So now I get to do that. So Blackwood is, as it says here, is like, this is a quote from Horror Talk here, a pull quote, is like Harry Potter mixed with Deadly Class, if you're familiar with that book.
Yeah.
It keeps all the supernatural elements and ups the danger factor considerably. And you also get a bonus sketchbook section and pinups by Becky Cloonan, Declan Shalvey, and Jordi Belair, among others. So, I don't know. That's almost worth the price of admission right there.
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at right there. Well, since I mentioned it, I'll go back to Beasts of Burden, also on page 126. Wise Dogs and Eldritch Men, number 3 of 4. Evan Dorkin writing again, with Benjamin Dewey on art. And I've got to admit, I've always wanted to read these Beasts of Burden books, and I never have. I think what I'm going to have to do is dig out the older ones, the originals, so that I have an idea of who these Beasts of Burden characters are, and then just work my way up to this new volume, when it comes out.
Yeah, they had a one shot a few years back, and I got that and really enjoyed it. So then anything Beasts of Burden that I've seen, I've been meaning to check out.
Cool. I am only going to call out one more thing in Dark Horse. So do you have any more?
Nope, that's it.
All right. You know how they have some other products in the back that have nothing to do with comics. I mean, they're comic related. Well, I'm guessing this is a video game. I'm not a video gamer. But The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, Geralt in a Bath statuette. I have no idea what this is. It's solicited at $79.99. Originally an in-game scene turned internet meme turned CD Projekt Red. Turned CD Projekt Red April Fool's joke. The demand that this be brought to life from Witcher fans became too great to bear. Dark Horse is proud to bring you this marvelously detailed, and it is, hand-painted polyresin statuette featuring Geralt of Rivia relaxing and healing from his perilous journeys in a candlelit bath, complete with his rubber ducky.
The rubber ducky, yeah, that's what makes this thing to me.
And it's on page 129. And remember, Sesame Street, Ernie would always sing, "Rubber Ducky, you're the one." Well, he's not the only one who likes his rubber ducky.
Oh my God. See, folks, this is what Previews has to offer. These little gems like that.
Yeah.
It's not just for comics.
Well, hey, are we going to IDW now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, remember what before we go to IDW. On page 134, these things will be also in the DC section, but I'm going to call it out right now. Diamond Select Toys. On 134, that Ocean Master PVC diorama figure is beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
And I think it's like $80. I forget. The price is on another page, but man, that is awesome.
I like the Shazam one on the opposite page too.
Yeah. And of course, it's hard to convey this in an audio medium, but I'm guessing a lot of the listeners are following along, except for Sergeant America, who's on a long road trip ride right now. But I know he has previews, so he can look at it at his leisure.
Keep your eyes on the road, Sergeant.
Yes, please. All right. Now, I just said that the Star Wars folks, the folks behind Star Wars, did not want to dilute the product in any way and cross over with Superman and the Justice League. And now, what do they go and do? They just totally throw my theory out of the water, and they create Tales from Vader's Castle from IDW on page 138. So again, Disney has let the product go to another company also. IDW also does their Star Wars Adventures, which this falls under the Star Wars Adventures line, this Tales from Vader's Castle, a 5-week Halloween event with spooky Star Wars related stories. What do you think, Eric?
I think that the Francesco Francavilla covers are what are selling this.
Yeah,
in my mind.
I mean, maybe kids will like this. I don't know. I'm finding when I listen to the guys on Never Stay Dead that I'm not the only curmudgeonly guy out there, but I'm also finding out that a lot of things that I used to love are not for me anymore. Well, the new versions of them are not for me anymore. And I hate to say that, but sometimes things are just not made for my demographic.
Yeah.
And that I think is one of them, although people in my demographic may be buying it, and I'm not trying to sway them not to. But some things I just shake my head and go, why? But I know there's an audience out there for it, and it just doesn't happen to be me. I find it interesting that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind sharing with other people so they could discover it if they're just passing it by or they don't get previews. But I won't be getting it, but if you're a fan out there, you may want to check it out. Or get it for the kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you and I were talking about Star Trek before, how when it comes to licensed property, Star Trek's your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Last month, you and I were talking about the Star Trek versus Transformers #1, done in the style of the Star Trek cartoon and the Transformers cartoon rather than the comics or any other medium. Did you pull the trigger on #1 on your DCBS order?
It was very tempting, but no. And
you did not? I'm surprised.
I didn't know. Yeah, it's Transformers. I have no connection to Transformers whatsoever.
I see. So that overrode the connection to Star Trek, especially the animated series.
Yeah. If they just would have had a miniseries based on the animated Star Trek, I totally would have gotten that. You would have jumped on. I didn't get it either. But let's face it, it is another curiosity. Oh yeah.
It's interesting. And it's written, who's it written by? John Barber and Mike Johnson, with art by Philip Murray. But of course, he's sticking to the style of those Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, you'd have to guess it's a miniseries, but it doesn't really say it.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Which comes back to what you said before. At least let us know. Hey, do you have anything before 149 in previews?
I do not. Nope.
Okay, I just wanted to call out the artwork on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles macro series, Michelangelo. I guess it's a one-shot. It's 48 pages at $8, and I just wanted to call out the art on it, especially what looks like will be cover B by Michael the Alanis, and it's just I know nothing about the turtles. I was never interested in them. I marvel at the phenomenon that they are, but there's something about this artwork that I just wanted to call out for any Turtles fans out there who may not know about that. I think it's a one shot at $8. I guess it has to be.
Yeah, and it's an oversized issue too, which is I think why it's $8 for just that many pages.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually like the cover, the A cover by
that was beautiful
David
too.
Peterson. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're following along for previews, check that out. And if you're a Turtles fan, you might want to pick that up.
Yeah, I want to ask Matt now if he's getting that. I can't remember if he's mentioned that before on Never Stay Dead or his videos.
I didn't pull the trigger on Dick Tracy. Again, I was very tempted, like you kind of were for the Star Trek Transformers. The team of Lee and Michael Allred with Rich Tommaso, Michael Allred on art. And it being kind of like, they call it the pop art event of 2018. I was interested, but again, like you've done in the past, sometimes you just have to take some things off your list.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
Yeah, but again, I call it out to all of you listening. If you're interested in, again, the Allreds, that might be the thing that gets you in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. On the previous page, George, there's the Judge Dredd Toxic.
Oh yeah,
new looks like a new series or mini series. I'm not sure, but if you're a Judge Dredd fan, and I've read very little of Judge Dredd.
Not even Free Comic Book Day stuff.
Really?
I don't think I've read any. Yeah, but it's written by Paul Jenkins.
Yes,
I mean you can't go wrong with Paul Jenkins.
And it's his first shot at Judge Dredd. So yeah.
Let's see what else we have here. Now, why did I have this page? Well, I guess I don't know why I had that page. All right. Anything else going on in IDW? Wow, they have a lot of Disney stuff here too. Uncle Scrooge, DuckTales, Tangled. They've got a Mickey Mouse 90th anniversary collection. I mean, you would really think that should be under the Marvel banner.
Yeah.
That Mickey Mouse 90th anniversary collection has a bunch of reprints. It's $24.99 at 192 pages. Advanced solicited for November release. So if you're thinking about the holidays and the Disney fan in your life, that might be something interesting to get them at your local comic shop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny to think about it in mid-August, but some of this stuff solicited in October, people could think about it for the holidays, for gifts for other people, the comic fans in their life, or if we touch on any of the all ages type stuff, if you have children that you want to get them some comics or stuff like that, like here, the My Little Pony stuff on 160. I mean, now is the time to kind of think about it so that you know for a fact you get it prior to the holidays. You just hold on to it for 2 months. I'll be honest, I didn't even think of that until right now.
Yeah, and I like the My Little Pony Nightmare Nights.
Yeah.
Going with the Halloween theme, I guess. But it's written by Jeremy Whitley, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then I have George. I just read issue number 6. Is it of The Highest House? Can't remember if it was.
I was going to ask you about this because I thought you were reading this.
Yes.
By Mike Carey and Peter Gross.
Right. Yeah. So I just got the final issue in my shipment a couple weeks ago. Sat down and read it the other night. And so yeah, here's the trade, the oversized trade collection.
And each comic was oversized too, right?
Oh yeah. It's what does it say here? 8 3/8 inch wide and 11 inches tall.
I remember seeing them on the shelf at Comic Logic.
Yeah. I can only imagine how a comic book shop would deal with that, depending on how they display their comics. It was a nice issue or a nice series, but
hey Eric, across from Highest House on page 164, there's Impossible Incorporated number 2. Did we discuss number 1 last month? Do you recall?
That sounds familiar. I
It's
think we
by
did.
J.M. DeMatteis with art by Mike Cavallero. While lost in the other dimensional paradise called Conundronopolis,
That's a
Teen
great name.
genius, Number Horowitz is reunited with her long missing father, Goliath. Or is she? In a world where reality is plastic and perception is open to interpretation, how can she possibly be sure? Plus, the Impossible Incorporated team faces the universe-devouring threat of the time termites. Dun dun dun.
Doesn't that sound like a lot of fun?
It does, and I think we did bring it up, but I didn't get it. But I'm maybe regretting that.
Yeah, definitely a trade book for me.
Maybe. And with IDW, the only thing that I have on my pull list from IDW is on hiatus right now. It's part of the Black Crown stuff called Punk's Not Dead. So I don't know if any of your listeners are reading that. I'm enjoying it thoroughly. I'm also kind of happy that it's on hiatus because it's one less thing I'm buying in October. And I'm actually happy that some of the things that I am collecting will be coming to an end soon or will be ending prior to October because it opens up some funds for me.
Well, speaking of that, you had mentioned, George, a little bit ago, Christmas stuff or stuff to get for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is 167 is the Great Treasury of Christmas Comic Book Stories.
Ah, yes.
A collection of Golden Age Christmas comics. So, and I know
that's right up my alley.
I know we did that. We did that episode last year for our Christmas comics, and boy, this would sure meet the bill.
Yes, and you and I kind of bounced around the idea to do it again this year, and I hope we do.
That depends on my Christmas comics.
I guess so. Right above it on the same page is Mateo, Book 1, 1914 to 1915. I bring this up. It's an original graphic novel by, and I always butcher his name whenever I bring him up, Jean-Pierre Gebrat. And this is the person who did a book that I raved about, I think on one of your shows, maybe one of mine, I'm not sure, but he did the Eisner-nominated Flight of the Raven, which was a great graphic novel, and I think there was a sequel to it, or maybe a prequel, which I did not get. But this guy's artwork is just fantastic, and it's almost like you don't even need to know the story. It's almost like you just get it because the artwork is great.
Yeah, that cover image is just fantastic.
I guess I should at least say what it is. It's during 1914 in a small town at the foot of the French Mediterranean. Lifelong friends are called to arms, except for Mateo, who, as the son of Spanish refugees, is exempt from service. Yet when his fellow villagers, including Juliet, the woman he loves, expresses disdain for his pacifism, he embarks on an epic adventure that will have a resounding impact on their lives. And it is said to be the first of a 5-book series. Kind of interesting.
You mentioned Black Crown with the book that you've been getting. Here is Black Crown's, and this is my final book from IDW. Black Crown is putting out its first, black and white miniseries from David and Maria Lapham. This is Lodger, a twisted serial killer love story that cuts right to the broken soul of America. I think I want to read that.
Yeah, the Black Crown stuff's been fun. I've only read Punk's Not Dead, but I've also bought the anthologies, and not much of an anthology guy, but I kind of like them. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with them, but the ones I've gotten are at least filling in some of the gaps as to what this whole Black Crown shared universe is supposed to be. I'll tell you, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this volume here. Ready for Dynamite?
Yeah.
I can't believe how many things I found interesting in Dynamite. That's not a slam on them in any way, but I usually don't find that much that I would say I would at least want to put on my radar. Was there anything in Dynamite that you were interested in?
There is a new Miss Fury series. Mm-hmm. This is on page 192. And the only reason I really point this out is because Emma Kubert is doing the art. And I think this is her first major comic work. She's another artist that I, discovered on Instagram. And I've been following her for a little while now, just in terms of her development as an artist. She posts a lot of things that she's working on, really good looking stuff. And so I'm glad to see that she's landed a gig of her own here doing this. She might have done some other things. I'm just not aware of it, but I know this one for sure that she's doing. So,
and the lineage from which she comes, boy, the Kuberts, man. But did you read what the story's about? It's by Billy Tucci, right? I'm not on that page yet, but that's who writes it, right?
Yeah, 192.
So it's of the Joy Division from during World War II. Kind of interesting how she's almost going to have some like a team of Furies to go with her, but there's going to be some dark stuff in there.
Yeah, it says in the spirit of an all-female Inglorious Bastards.
Mm-hmm. Right. Interesting take on such a character who, as they said in the interview, is older, dates back to further back than Wonder Woman.
That's right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. On some of the previous pages, there's going to be a new Kiss miniseries. And the only thing I have to say about Kiss, Blood, and Stardust #1 is, why isn't Amy Chu writing this? Amy Chu should be writing all the Kiss stuff for Dynamite. Come on. Although they do have a cool cover. I mean, they have a ton of covers. Cover E is yet another homage to the classic Giant Size X-Men #1. Then the Lone Ranger #1 by Mark Russell from Flintstones fame, Prez.
Yep.
With art by Bob Q. This main cover by John Cassidy is great. And I reading what it's about, the advent of barbed wire is creating havoc in the Texas Panhandle.
That's right.
Corrupted state senator conspires with dirty ranchers to make land unnavigable for open ranchers and native tribes. Now, this is stuff that really happened, I would guess, back in the Wild West days, as everybody was trying to civilize that section of the country. And it looks like it could be interesting. And Mark Russell has proven himself to be a very interesting writer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. And I have to ask, I mean, you skipped the page, so I have to ask, though. Rainbow Bright. Your granddaughters, I forget their ages. Madison is, 12, she said in the Smile episode?
Uh-huh.
But she's the older one, right?
No, she's the younger one.
Oh, she's the younger one. Oh, okay. So Rainbow Bright might be a little too young for her. I would
Maybe.
think. Yeah.
But
the fact they're even bringing back the concept of Rainbow Bright is interesting in and of itself. But if any of you have any children out there who might be, I don't know, what would you say? Maybe preteen, 8 to 10?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, something like that?
Yeah.
Looks like it's a cool concept, what they're doing with.
And written by Jeremy Whitley.
Oh, yes, Jeremy Whitley.
My second mention of that writer.
Yeah.
This episode.
Dynamite does have a lot of Halloween one-shots, none of which I probably will buy. But they're out there. Army of Darkness, Betty Page, Elvira, Red Sonja, Vampirella. Maybe they're putting out one a week.
Yeah, I love the...
Oh, no, they're all coming out on the 24th. Oh, okay.
Or are they?
Yeah, I figured it seemed like with that Darth Vader thing being a weekly event.
Oh, yeah.
And there were 5 of them. I mean, I didn't look at October on, I'm guessing there are 5 Wednesdays in October. I haven't looked at the calendar, so I just figured that this was that. But looking at the dates, they're all coming out on October 24th, the week before Halloween.
Yeah. I like the monster jack-o'-lantern on the Red Sonja cover.
Yeah.
Previous to that, there's the Battlestar Galactica pages here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica Classic #0, so starting a new series. And then you've got the trade of Battlestar Galactica versus Battlestar Galactica. So the classic characters up against the apparently the new series that came out some years ago on Sci-Fi. So that piques my interest just because I love the Battlestar Galactica brand.
And it was written by Peter David.
Yeah.
That crossover.
That makes it even more appealing to me.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of John Cassidy, didn't he do that main cover? The cover that they're using for the I got to go back to that page.
Yep. The BSG versus BSG. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Before we move forward to any of the other comics, it looks like Dynamite is putting out a trading card set for the video game Fallout. And I only call this to your attention. I don't collect trading cards anymore, but on page 200, one of the trading cards is a cat called Mr. Pebbles with a space helmet on. And this cat has a uncanny resemblance to the previous benevolent overlord at the Boiler Room Studio. I mean, Bianca now owns the Boiler Room Studio. It's been converted to a spa and
a cat spa.
Place for her. Yeah, a cat spa. Yes, very good, Eric. A cat spa, which I'm not allowed to enter anymore. But there had been a previous benevolent overlord in the Boiler Room Studio prior to the podcast existing, and her name was Houdini. And this Mr. Pebbles looks like Houdini. So it just caught my attention. This trading card set. I'm familiar with the icon, this avatar of the character with the thumbs up and the winking from Fallout, but I've never played the game before, and I don't collect trading cards.
Yeah, that card also says the first cat in space.
Yeah. Cool stuff. So I don't know if anybody collects trading cards anymore. Some of the artwork on these cards is beautiful, but I, just don't do that anymore. You're not buying Charlie's Angels, are you?
No.
On page 203?
No.
Well, just another homage to Giant Size X-Men #1. So they did it twice.
It makes you wonder if Dynamite's not coordinating that, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Now, what about on page 206, Nancy Drew? Now, is that something Madison might be interested in, or maybe your other granddaughter, or not?
I don't know, but it's because it's written by Kelly Thompson. It makes me interested in it. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's something I'll have to.
It's
I'll have to ask her
505.
about.
Yeah, I mean, and they'll collect it within a month or two anyway. But number 505, the miniseries is over now. Project Superpowers #3 is being solicited also on page 206. Did you pull the trigger?
No.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
What
about on page 209?
Yeah, I was just going to say 209.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Boy, show. This really makes make my decision hard in terms of what I will be getting this month. But this is Will Eisner's The Spirit Corpse Makers hardcover, but it's written and drawn by Francesco Francavilla. So, boy, I think that's a good match between character and artist for
Sergeant America. Please pull over. Whip out your copy of previews and go to page 209 and look at this cover. But please do it in a safe place. Yeah, that cover's great. Anybody listening to this who's not following along, check out your previews when you get a chance, page 209.
Yeah, and they're also offering a signed edition for twice as much. And then for $75, you can get a remarked edition. So I assume that is Mr. Francavilla's notes.
I guess. I don't even know what that means. It's weird. I don't know what any of that means. Well, that's all I have for Dynamite. Do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it. My next thing is in Boom.
Okay, Boom. Let's move on to Boom. What do you have?
This is on page 222. I seem to be drawn to these
yes,
memoir-like books.
Mm-hmm.
This is I Moved to Los Angeles to Work in Animation. It's an original graphic novel, softcover by Natalie Nurigat.
Hmm.
And so this is an artist who left Portland to move to LA and pursue a job in animation, and we get to experience her life story doing that. And there's some preview pages here. It reminds me a lot of Emmy Lennox. And her book that the title of which I'm blanking on. But I kind of want to read this.
I think I mentioned last month that I'm getting into these memoir type graphic novels that creators are putting out, things that are based upon their life experience and what's going on. And I guess, I don't know, Eric, maybe because you said that you're going toward that too. Maybe it's just we've changed the things that we want to consume as time has gone on. Not that we don't want to get regular serialized comics anymore, but now that we're at a particular stage in our lives, maybe this is the kind of stuff that we're interested in, whereas maybe 20 years ago, had this existed, maybe we might have overlooked it. On a couple of pages prior to that, on page 220, Hex Vet, which is in training. Now, this one, again, is an all-ages thing. Oh, by the way, I think it's cool to note that the I Moved to Los Angeles to Work in Animation softcover is only $9.99 for 112 pages. It's an advanced solicit that looks like it's going to go into stores the day after Christmas. So if anybody is interested in this, please make a note of that. I think that's a pretty good price, but these are all advanced solicits, it looks like. As is the one that I am going to mention now, Hex Vet. Have you ever wondered where witches' cats go when they pull a claw? Or what you do with a pygmy phoenix with a case of bird flu? Nan and Clarion have you covered. They're the best veterinarian witches of all time, or at least they're trying to be. So this is a book by Sam Davies. Looks like cute cartooning, and it looks like this is an all-ages graphic novel. But even though it's coming out from their Kaboom line, it doesn't mean 50-year-old George can't enjoy it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That book was actually on my short list, but I pulled it off due to time.
But again, now, is that something you think the girls would be interested in?
I think probably that one more than Nancy Drew, but yeah.
Yeah. And you didn't get into Backstagers, right?
No.
Okay. Well, if anybody was a Backstagers fan, the Backstagers Halloween Intermission #1 is coming out by James Tynion IV and Sam Johns with a couple of artists there. I don't think they're the regular artists. I guess it's a celebration because it's the Halloween issue. I got to keep these pages marked for when I do my final tally. Okay. Any other Boom stuff?
No. My next thing is an Aftershock on page 261.
Okay, so let me get over there. I read Giant Days, the trade paperback, but Giant Days 43 is coming out, solicited on 238, and Giant Days Early Registration comes out. It's a $14.99 book with 112 pages on December 12th. And this is collecting creator John Allison's original self-published Giant Days stories.
Ah.
So I don't think, it says here, it takes us back to our favorite characters' first quarter of university for their initial misadventures for the first time. So I don't think this has seen the light of day, maybe outside of conventions.
Huh.
I don't know.
I had no idea.
Yeah, me neither, until I read that. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. All right, so where are we going? Aftershock?
Yep. That's where I'm going next.
And what page is that?
261. This is the last space race.
Oh, yes, I marked that one too.
Peter Calloway and Alex Shabao. It's about this guy who basically comes out of retirement to build and launch the most expensive, most ambitious, and most important project in history, which gives him something to live for again. There's only one thing standing in his way: his arch rival and chief aerospace competitor. So, again, like I said, I'm always looking for some sort of cool sci-fi concept, and I thought this might be it.
I have that one marked too. Hey, before we go into any more Aftershock, can I just talk about a couple of other things?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to point out, if we have any fans of March out there, that the trilogy by Representative John Lewis, Now we have the next chapter in his life, in this autobiographical run of his, and it's called Run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's book one, and I'm guessing it's a trilogy. It's a long solicit here, but check that out. Run. It's the next phase of the March trilogy. I also want to call it another cover homage, the League of Extraordinary Cerebi. Last month, there was the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh, yes.
Homage.
Yeah.
And now they're doing the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I don't remember what issue number was. I guess it was issue number 1 here for Cerebus. Now, also on page 252, I have to ask you, how is Strangers in Paradise 25? Because issue number 7 is solicited.
Mm-hmm.
How are you enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it very much. Yeah,
Great.
It's an odd story though, because it's, because the original Strangers in Paradise was very much the love story between Kachu, Francine, and oh my God, I can't remember. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Oh man, I'm such a bad fan. But it was about this relationship between these characters, and this one is very, very much a sort of adventure story involving Kachu. Francine is in it a little tiny bit at the beginning, and that's been it so far. So it's not exactly what I would have expected, but it's still a great comic. Terry Moore, I don't know that he could do a bad comic book.
This is another one of those admissions I've already made on your show before, that I've never read Strangers in Paradise. But it always seemed like it was soap opera-y.
Yeah.
Whereas this book, the way it's solicited, like you said, it's pretty obvious it's an adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going on here. So I'm not surprised that you're surprised at what's the difference between the two. But even as Strangers in Paradise was coming to an end, was it always still a soap opera, or was there an adventure aspect to it?
No. In fact, this new series could be considered a sequel of sorts to a lot of the stuff that was set up in the original series, involving Kachu's past and various characters in her life that were outside of Francine and their relationship.
This is DIY month in previews, and I think this is the only DIY related book. Well, I may have circled, but I did this for you because on page 254, Terry Moore's How to Draw Comics softcover is solicited. And let's face it, none of us, if we don't have the talent, we're not drawing like Terry Moore. That guy's in a class by himself. But thanks Terry Moore, for trying to, give us an opportunity to fool ourselves that we can draw like you do.
Yeah.
Action Lab, I've discussed on your show before, I like alternate history books along the lines of Harold, Lovecraft, and Tesla, also an Action Lab book, and Rough Riders from Aftershock, which we had the creators on your show, and we'll probably be talking about some of their books coming up.
Yep.
But Albert Einstein, Time Mason, #1.
I figured you would bring that up, so I didn't.
Yes, so I had to bring that up. And just to call out another cover homage on the same page, Athena Voltaire, #8. One of the covers is an homage to the first appearance of the Punisher from Amazing Spider-Man #129.
I swear I was hoping you'd say X-Men.
There probably is another one in here somewhere. And then the other cover looks like it's, I don't know if it's an exact replica, an homage to a particular cover, but it has a Jim Steranko or a Will Eisner-esque type of feel to it, the way that the letters of Athena Voltaire are part of the cover image. All right, so I guess now I'm caught up to you. Anything else from Aftershock? I have the feeling there's at least one more.
Yeah, well, there's two more, and it's, you mentioned Rough Riders and the creators that we had on the show. And this is a new series by Adam and Aidan Glass. I assume Aidan is his son. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been tweeting about this book. So that's his son. Mm-hmm.
And art by Diego Yapur. Lollipop Kids.
Yeah.
So when immigrants come to the New World, they didn't only bring their hopes and dreams, they also brought their monsters. And so it looks like Central Park is now the domicile of all these monsters. And so kids find out that there's this stuff going on, and that just sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to get it. I love Adam's work, and I'm definitely going to pick that up. Now, the only other thing I have for Aftershock is the collection of Rough Riders Volume 3 on page 269. It is a trade paperback collection of the last Rough Riders miniseries, and it's by Adam Glass, who was on Long Box Review. Artist Patrick Oleth. Oh, he was also on Long Box Review. Colored by Gabe Altieb. Wait a minute. He was also on the same episode of Long Box Review. With letters by Sal Cipriano, who, oh yeah, he was also on that same episode of Long Box Review.
Episode 137.
There you go. So if you want to hear, well, I mean, of course, I don't give away any of the details of the issue, but if you want to hear the creators, all four of them, talk about Rough Riders and what they have also going on, you could check that episode out in your feed, right, Eric?
That's correct, and it was the first time that all four of them had ever appeared together on any particular venue. So there you go.
And I know they've moved on to other projects, and now they consider themselves part of whatever team they are. But to me, they'll always be the Rough Riders team.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about Ahoy Comics?
Sure. Did you order any of those books from last month?
I have to admit, I am pulling the trigger on all of these.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I ordered The Wrong Earth and High Heaven. We talked about number 1 of each of those last month. And come on, my benevolent overlord is a cat. I have to at least check out Captain Ginger by Stuart Moore and June Brigman. This one also has back matter by Grant Morrison, like it seems like all the other ones do. But I have to check out Captain Ginger. When the human race died out, the cats inherited the earth. So come on, folks. You got to check that out. And what about Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Terror? I don't have to go into any more detail. There you go. I am excited about these Ahoy comics. I don't know why.
Yeah,
hopefully they live up to the hype.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading The Wrong Earth.
Yeah. I mean, they had a 2-page ad right on the inside cover of previews this month. And they're really pulling out all the stops to get people interested, I think. Are you getting anything from Alterna on page 274?
No, not currently.
Okay. I know you it came out on a Wednesday, that anthology. Have you read number 1 yet?
Yeah, that first one. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think? Because number 3 is solicited here.
I enjoyed a few of the preview stories that they had in it. I didn't continue with it because I figured it was going to be like that, and I don't want to read a bunch of previews of comics that are coming out.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's. I mean, probably not entirely, but that was the majority of it, as I recall.
Okay.
I don't know what the later issues are doing, but I enjoyed it. It's just not something that kept my attention.
Huh. They also have a Metaphase graphic novel. So let's see how much they have $1.50 comics, but their collection is $9.99. Now, I bought Metaphase number 1 at $1.50. It's supposed to be a 2-issue miniseries. This Metaphase graphic novel, $9.99, makes me think that this is original material and not a collection of those 2 issues. Because why would you pay $9.99 for something that if you bought the 2 issues, it would be $3? Yeah. So that's kind of interesting and strange.
It says 110 pages.
Yeah, that's weird. So yeah, I guess it's original. Okay, and it says it's offered again. That OA means offered again, doesn't it? Huh. All right, whatever.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. It's 80 pages for Metaphase.
Yeah, so I guess it is a graphic novel, maybe a sequel to the 2-issue miniseries. What is 110 pages is Doppelganger.
Yes. Which
I was interested in, and now that it's in a trade paperback form, maybe I'll get it. I don't know. $9.95 for 110 pages. But this new one, Midnight Mystery number 1, follow the strange adventures of Detective Zeke King as he goes from case to horrifying case. In this issue, his latest case goes from freaky to fatal, when he's hired to find the lost son of a deceased horror host. The mystery begins in this new supernatural horror series, one of 4, where hilarity ensues. I add that last part myself.
Yeah, and you're paying $6 for what will be if all four issues are 32 pages. 192 pages total.
Yeah.
No, I did that wrong. 4. I did that wrong. Math, not my thing.
I just nodded my head and smiled.
But you get the idea.
Yeah. I think your listeners know that you and I both kind of like to make sure we call out any all ages stuff. American Mythology, if nothing else, they've got some good all ages stuff on page 276 and 277. Casper reprints, Casper Capers #3, and Rocky and Bullwinkle Adventures, which I think is all new material because they've got an Amazon Prime cartoon series. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they're making new.
Either.
Yeah, I didn't know they're making a new Rocky and Bullwinkle. And the Three Stooges, Monsters and Mayhem, a Halloween special featuring the Stooges. So, I have the feeling kids could get that stuff.
Yeah, this just shows that there's a comic for everybody out there.
I'm telling you, right? It is amazing that a Three Stooges comic can keep coming out.
Well, and on the opposite page there, Carson of Venus, Pirates of Venus #1, written by Len Wein, art by Michael Kaluta.
Yeah.
Limited to only 400 copies, but so, you better order that soon.
Well, wait.
Oh no, that's the limited edition.
It's a special cover, right?
Yeah. Okay. But Michael Kaluta?
I know.
Oh man.
Talk about another person whose artwork could be the only reason you pick something up.
Yeah.
It could be the illustration of somebody's grocery list, as everybody always says, right? But if it's Michael Kaluta or P. Craig Russell, you have to pick it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna dog ear that page because I missed that the first time around.
Do you read any novelization, any novels based on TV properties, whether they be superhero or any other property? Like, for instance, I remember the TV show Monk. There were novels based on the Monk TV show, and there were novels based on the Burn Notice TV show. Do you ever buy TV related?
No.
Okay. So would you consider a novel about the Flash TV show universe?
No.
Okay. Because on page 281, there is a prose novel. It's in the Flash universe from the CW, The Flash, the Tornado Twins. So if anybody's into that kind of stuff.
Wait a minute. Tornado Twins, that my Legion sense is tingling.
Well, okay. Well, here's the solicit real quick. Race to Adventure in the third book. So this is the third book in the series. Catch up with the super adventures of Barry Allen, known as the Flash. Featuring adventures not seen on TV, Barry continues his mission to protect Central City from sinister plots. The book built... Okay, now this is just... All right, this is just telling you that it builds on the universe in the book, and it doesn't tell you anything about the Tornado Twins. There's nothing about the plot here. Okay.
So yeah, if people aren't familiar, the Tornado Twins are two characters that are in the Legion of Superheroes arena, and they first were descendants of the Flash, and I think that was retconned later for them to be the actual children of Barry Allen when he went to the 30th century after Crisis.
Okay. Hey, before we move on, another Halloween-related book from American Mythology, Vampire, PA, Vampire, Pennsylvania. So I guess it's just a town of vampires in Pennsylvania. It's the 2007 miniseries collected in one volume. Dean Markland becomes more than a believer in vampires after he's attacked by one. By day, he's an HVAC repairman, but by night, he's a vampire hunter in the sleepy Pittsburgh suburb of Dormont, with its surprisingly large undead population. Written by zombie-proof creator J.C. Vaughn, illustrated by Brendan and Brian Frame, and colored by Mark Wheatley, this edition includes bonus pages not included in the individual issues and the original short story that inspired the series. Its age rating is for teen. It's in color, 96 pages for $20.
I wonder if that's anywhere near where Peter lives.
We'll have to ask him if he's in a vampire-infested suburb
That's right.
of Pittsburgh. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, and I mean, this will come up later, but I pointed out the Ocean Master PVC figure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's an ad, and of course this would probably be in Marvel previews, but I'll call it out now. There's a bunch of Marvel Gallery PVC statues, and the Squirrel Girl one, of all things, which is the new one I think that they're soliciting this month. The Squirrel Girl one is actually pretty cool. It's on page 283. So anyway, that happened to catch my eye. What do you think about the Archie stuff on 287? I know we talked about this last month.
Yeah, the
Archie Batman 66 and the Archie 1941.
Yeah. I listened to an interview with Mark, or read an interview with Mark Waid, and they talked about this. So it just makes me want to read it. Yeah, the 1941.
Now, did he mention anything about Archie 700 coming out next month? In November.
No, not that I recall.
Because Archie 699 is only $1. And it looks like it's almost like a greatest hits of this reboot that they've done, kind of like a flashback episode like they used to do on TV shows. And it's setting the stage for, as they say, next month's landmark 700th issue by Nick Spencer and Marguerite Sauvage. So Nick Spencer's going to be writing Archie.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if after 700 they go back to the lower numbering that they started with Mark Waid.
And you were talking about our Christmas gab bag from last year. You and I like our Christmas comics, and people like their Halloween comics. Archie's going to have a Halloween spectacular, but in addition to that, they're going to solicit Archie's holiday coloring book. Now, you and I have talked about the coloring books in the past. I've bought a couple, thinking that I would use them as some sort of a therapeutic thing, almost like a meditation type thing.
Yeah.
But some of the detail in there, it almost makes it stressful. But I'm thinking the Archie ones, the way Archie comics are drawn,
yes,
those would almost be like a true coloring book, like when we were kids. And I think that's what I can handle. I think that's more my speed.
Yeah.
So I might check that out, especially since it's going to be holiday themed.
Hopefully it's not holiday themed in just the trade dress and there's actually Christmas pictures in it.
Because I might even get that for my niece and my nephew if it looks cool. What's the next page of stuff that you have?
299.
Oh yeah, I'm on 298 and 299. Okay, so what do you have?
I believe this is from Beyond Reality Media. Mm-hmm. If I'm reading this correctly, this is Time Traveling Tourist. It's a graphic novel from William Garrett's, Richard Fairgray, and Gonzalo Martinez. And I just love this concept. Beethoven Jones travels time and space doing exactly what every tourist does, taking selfies. That changes when he meets Rebecca and tastes the best donuts in history. However, it's never easy falling in love with a time traveler. Journeying from the prehistoric past, Tutankhamun's tomb, the Wild West, ancient Rome, and beyond. A hilarious romantic comedy through the ages, not to be missed. That's very tempting.
Yes, it is. You're not kidding. In fact, I'm going to keep the dog ear on this page. On the previous page, on 298, the Doctor Who official annual 2019 with stuff about the 13th Doctor, which we're all highly anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a book here. I wouldn't pull the trigger on it now because this is probably something you even find in your bookstores in addition to your local comic shops, but it's Saturday Morning, a look back at 4 decades of animation, pop culture, and tradition. That's for the nostalgia buff in me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you'd find that next year in the some Barnes and Noble bargain bin.
Exactly. But for those of you who can't wait, there it is. Now, I don't know what's going on at Bongo Comics, but it looks like they're not going to be putting out any content anymore. The last issue of The Simpsons is coming out in October. It's Simpsons number 245. And in fact, I'm trying to think of the month prior. Did they solicit a Treehouse of Horror? I don't remember you and I bringing that up.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's
you
would think that they would do. Yeah, so maybe this is more along the lines of Bongo going away as opposed to The Simpsons going away. Because also United Plankton Pictures, which is associated with Bongo Comics, has the last issue of SpongeBob, number 85. They say it's our last issue for a while. So, to me that means, well, if The Simpsons is ending this month and SpongeBob is going on some sort of hiatus, maybe something's going on at Bongo. But I don't know. That's just a guess on my part.
Mm-hmm.
Have to get Greg Schiegel back on the show.
Yeah.
Ask him what he's going to do in the post-SpongeBob life. Him and Jacob Shabbat.
Hey, a couple pages before where you're at, I wanted to point out from Black Mask.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
We've got Sex, Death, Revolution from Magdalene Visaggio and Becca Farrow. Just looks pretty cool. It says, still reeling from the sudden collapse of her coven, Manhattanite sorceress Esperanza tries to rebuild, but everyone in her life is saying she's done and said things that never happened, terrible things. Before she knows it, she's becoming someone entirely different, someone she used to be once upon a time. That sounds pretty cool. And then on the next page, the No Angel Volume 1 trade by Adrian and Eric Palicki with Ari Sirazad. This one is religious texts from the Bible to the Sumerian tablets speak of strange creatures descending from the heavens and mating with humans, their children, the superhuman heroes of myth. None of this ever meant anything to Iraq war veteran Hannah Gregory until she found herself in the crosshairs of a dangerous cult, convinced that she's a descendant of these mysterious bloodlines. That just sounds pretty neat.
Have you ever picked up anything from Black Mask before?
Yes. I don't remember the title of it at the moment. But yeah, I did get one of their miniseries.
Interesting. Yeah, I never have.
They got some interesting books. I just haven't delved into that publisher all that much yet.
Okay, what else do we have here?
I got a couple things on 315.
Sure. Well, of course, my favorite publisher, Boundless. I mean, come on. Pandora. What else is here? Jungle Fantasy. I mean, come on, folks. I'm sorry. That's a different podcast. What now, 315?
Why are you on the show?
I don't know. I have no idea. Oh, on page 301, Annie Bonny, number 7, from Blue Juice Comics. And I think Blue Juice Comics is affiliated with the Comic Book Men in some way.
Oh, okay.
But that looks like it could be all ages fun for somebody at least Madison's age. So you might want to check that out on page 301.
Okay.
But then again, it is issue number 7. I don't know about jumping in at that particular point, but you never know. So what do you have on page 315?
Like I said, two things. One from Caliber Entertainment. This is Fisk, the substitute.
Yes.
Mr. Fisk
This is why I'm on the show, because we're insane.
Mr. Fisk is the best at what he does, but nobody knows it. He's a covert agent in the substitute department of the Board of Education, and substitute is spelled like shield, S.U.B. etc. He's called in to deal with mad scientists, temporal rifts, aliens, and any other supernatural occurrences that might threaten a school. That just sounds like fun. And then from Candlewick Press is Lost Soul, Be at Peace by Maggie Thrash.
I have that circled too, yeah.
So this is another, I think this is another memoir type book. A year and a half after the summer that changed her life, Maggie Thrash wishes she could change it all back. She's trapped in a dark depression and flunking 11th grade, befuddling her patrician mother while going unnoticed by her father, a workaholic federal judge. So that just goes along with, again, books, like I said, memoir books that I seem to be gravitating towards. So that is probably that's going to go on the short list for sure.
And in the same vein, Eric, on the next page, on page 316, the Die Kitty Die Cat House of Horror Halloween special. I think I said on the last episode I read the Die Kitty Die Free Comic Book Day offering. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure I'm going to get the Halloween special, but I like to call it out. Because it's for mature readers. The concept is good. The delivery is fun, and it is Halloween themed. So if anybody's looking for a Halloween themed comic for mature readers, it's just because of content. So some of the things in there aren't appropriate for children, even though it's drawn in the old Archie style.
Well, and by Dan Parent, so
yeah, exactly. But don't let it fool you.
Misleading, huh?
Mm-hmm. There's a T-shirt from the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund on page 319. Did you have that one marked by any chance?
I not marked, but I had noticed it. Yeah, I'm a little tempted.
Yeah, comic books recommended uses: reading, enjoying, creating, selling and trading, discussing, like we are, and debating, like they do on a lot of other shows. Loaning and borrowing. Eric, I don't know. After what I learned about you in that Smile episode, I'm not sure. Please do not, what is this? Ban and or burn and panic. And then I don't know what all the fine print says.
Yeah, it's hard to read that.
Yeah, that looks like a fun shirt.
Like we said last episode, though, George, like I need another T-shirt.
I know exactly, right? Like we need any more comics.
No. We need more comics. I could do without shirts.
But if you want to support the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, that's a way to do it for $25.
Very true.
It comes in black or heather gray. All right. And of course, I want to call out the DMC graphic novels on page 320. It looks like volume 3, number 3 is out from Daryl Minks Comics. DMC is pretty much a fixture at a lot of conventions with this graphic novel. And I think number 3 is being solicited for the first time here. Have you read any of those? I have to admit, I haven't read either one.
No, have not at all.
I mean, I've gone to conventions. I've seen him there. I've seen it there, but I've never bought it. Do you have anything?
You can get all 3.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, right there. You could order them at your local comic shop. Do you have anything before page 332?
No.
I don't know if anybody remembers from last month, if they listened. There was the T-shirt with the Universal Monsters. There were a couple of them out there, and one of them was the Bride of Frankenstein, and I pointed that out. I didn't order it, but it would have been something I would have ordered. Well, on page 332, there's the classic picture of Frankenstein with the bride, and that's another T-shirt, and that one is $24.99. If you go 2X and above, it's $26.99.
And you can get
again,
a hoodie.
Tempted. Yeah, you can get a hoodie too. How much is that? $44.99 or $46.99 for 2X and above. Tempting. I'm probably not going to do it, but I call it out to those of you who are interested. And on page 334, again, a holiday-related thing from Fantagraphics, Walt Disney's Donald Duck. It's a combination gift box set of A Christmas for Shacktown and Trick or Treat. So I know Christmas for Shacktown was released as a hardcover a couple of years ago. I'm not familiar with Trick or Treat, but this is a nice set. It could be a good holiday gift. It's $49.99, but Fantagraphics does put together nice packages.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. Very tempting.
Halloween and Christmas thing, yeah. Just calling it out there for anybody who might be interested. What's your next page?
339.
Go for it, man.
So this is another graphic novel, Alone, by Christophe Chabut. Says every week a boat leaves supplies on a tiny lighthouse island only to have them later consumed by an unseen man, a figure mythological in his continual absence. Who is this person living 50 years on that rock? Why does he never leave? Why does he never make himself seen? What is it like to be so alone? I don't know. Just that description just made me interested in this book.
And it is very easy for someone to overlook a book like this. Plus, let's face it, there are a ton of podcasts out there, right? And we're not the only one who's going to go over previews with a fine-tooth comb. I bet you this is the only one where somebody will mention this graphic novel from Gallery 13 Publishing. So I think Gallery 13 Publishing should be aware that we have brought up the Alone graphic novel.
Well, and since we're talking about it, the same writer, artist, is adapting Jack London's story to build a fire.
Oh, yeah, look at that, right above it on
Yeah.
page 339, yeah.
I used to be such a Jack London fan when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah.
Eric, I forgot. You were talking about the other book about the teacher. Did you ever teach? For some reason, I was under the impression you taught. Did you ever teach?
Yeah, I taught essay writing at the university in my town, and I taught a little bit of creative writing as well.
How long ago are you talking?
Oh, it's been a long time now.
Okay.
Late 90s.
Was that your original vocation, or was that just kind of like a side job?
That's what I wanted to do with my life instead of what I ended up doing with my life.
Oh. Huh. I could see you being a teacher for some reason. I don't know why I'm not surprised.
Well, thank you.
Well, speaking about go ahead. Are you doing the same thing?
Of teaching. So I noticed that this is starting on 429. I don't know if that's where you're going, George.
Oh, no, I was at 345.
Okay. But let me get
What's
there.
on 429?
429 is a bunch of basically how to do comic books.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
And there's like 4 pages of just how-to books from DC. It's a bunch of DIY stuff from Stan Lee, Hogarth dynamic drawing, just a lot of different things. If you're interested in drawing and various art things relating to comic books, again, for if you have an aspiring artist in your family, you want to get a series of books or even just one for Christmas or whatever.
The classic How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way is in there, I notice. Stan Lee and John Buscema, and I had that book.
Oh yeah,
and I remember getting together with friends. We had we were young. None of us had any inclination to send in any of our work, but we were more competing with each other. And of course, I was bottom of the list because I was hanging out with some pretty good artists. But it was a lot of fun. God, I don't even know where that book is. I hope it survived. It's probably in the garage molding up, or I don't know. I have to go back to the old homestead up in New York.
So what was it you were going to?
Well, you're talking about adapting novels. There is a To Kill a Mockingbird hardcover adapted by Fred Fordham. So To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. So if you want to read it.
There it is.
Yeah, that is from HarperCollins Publishers.
Oh my God, that is my favorite novel of all time.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
they might want to consider it.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, you already know how it ends, but I mean, they might be interested to see a sequential art adaptation of it. 288 pages, $23.99, and on the same page and on the following page, Scott McCloud's classic books on understanding comics, reinventing comics, making comics. They're all solicited here, I guess. Well, yeah, I guess this is like in the DIY fashion. But the only one I've ever read is Understanding Comics, and that one is worth the hype. That one is hyped as a must-read for comics fans, and I agree.
I actually have all of those.
Oh yeah,
but
have you read them?
But I have not finished making comics. I started reading it a while back and haven't gotten back to it.
Well, I know we're running way long here, so Sergeant America, you're welcome. And to those of you who do miss the Muscular Dystrophy Telethon, this is for you. But anyway, I see we're getting so close to that $94,699.03 price tag because of all the things that we're mentioning here. But on page 348, I just got a call out as being a native New Yorker who is now outside of D.C. from Humanoid's New York Marathon. Sebastian, by Sebastian Sampson. A quiet and shy teacher gets lost in the memories of his boyhood when he was strong and he was a successful runner. On a whim, he decides to challenge his aging body and crumbling spirit and run the New York Marathon. And of course, hilarity ensues. Now, I think it's a nice memoir of his running the marathon. And then right below that, Superman isn't Jewish, but I kind of am. That is by Jim Vernon and Emile Baudet. And this just looks like a nice story about a kid who likes Superman. Well, let's see what it says. Benjamin would always proudly say, "I'm Jewish, like Superman," assuming that Judaism is some kind of superpower and Hebrew is akin to the Kryptonian language. Benjamin believes each of his family members is a superhero until, like Krypton, his world is shattered.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, an interesting concept.
Not the life-shattering thing, but just
right,
a cool story.
Yeah, it's just an interesting concept. And then, I'm sorry to keep bringing these things up that probably nobody's ever going to read, but Through the Walls, hardcover. Again, I'm guessing this is from Humanoids, by Jean-Luc Cornet and Stephanie Ory. A series of droll vignettes of everyday French life, except for the fact that each short story features one or more characters that have the very special ability of walking through walls and through any other objects, which tends to enliven things quite a bit. An interesting concept. Everybody pretty much is Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
And they just walk through walls.
And the cover features this guy poking his head through the wall and peering down at this woman in her bed. So that's kind of creepy.
Very. When I was a kid, my parents went to France, and I was heavy into my comic book reading days, and they brought me back what I guess is we hear about in English comics, where they would get American comics and they would put them into maybe 3 issues of an American comic into one, what we would call an anthology, but it was a collection of maybe 3 or 4 comics. And of course, since they were in France, everything's in French, right? But the cover was Phoenix, and it wasn't the end of the Dark Phoenix saga, but it was part of it. And I always loved that because I think I had all the comics that were in that collection, but I always liked having it in French for some reason. I don't know why, but it always made me curious as to, wow, if I went to France, pretending I could understand the language, what are French comics like? Not these reprints of American comics. And then it made me start to think about England, Spain, Italy. Until they actually brought that comic home for me, I never thought about, what are comics like in other countries?
Mm-hmm.
And here, via previews, at least we're getting an idea of what some comics are like in other countries, because we see these things solicited, translated for the first time in English after it was created 25 years ago or whatever like that. And it makes me think that for as much as we have our superhero comics here, they seem to be way ahead of us when it comes to slice of life type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I like being exposed to that now. And again, 20-year-old me, teenage me, maybe even 30-year-old me may not have been interested, but current me is interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that they're out there.
Yep.
Yeah, teenage, 20-year-old, 30-year-old me would have been in all over the events that we're probably going to talk about with DC and Marvel when we finally get to them in our 30th hour of the telethon.
Well,
but
10th, that's right. We'll be entering our 3rd hour here for Marvel and DC.
Yeah. So taste changed. That's not to say I'm not interested in Inside Editions on page 350, the DC Comics Detective Comics complete covers, and the Wonder Woman version of that looks like they're getting together all the covers. And, when you start with the golden age of those characters, some of those covers are a lot of fun. But of course, those books are $11.99 a piece at 304 pages. So I don't know, something to consider.
Well, and
maybe at your bookstores. And
they're only the size is 3x4.
Yeah, well, it does say mini. Yeah, so that's another thing that maybe will eventually be at the discount rack a year from now at your local Barnes and Noble if it still exists.
I'm surprised they're not doing a Superman one.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that would be coming soon. As I catch up to you in the 400s, I always like to call out Encounter by Art Balthazar and Franco with art by Chris Giarrusso from Lion Forge. Their Caracal imprint, I guess that's what they consider the all ages for kids. That's a pretty fun book. That's on page 369. I got that from my nephew. I think I keep trying to force my nephew to be in the comics. And I know it's not fair to do that, but when I buy him stuff like that and I read it, I mean, I enjoy it.
You get more bang for your buck that way.
Yeah, I like Encounter. Oni Press, I'm moving into to page 380. Did you pull the trigger on the Long Con from Oni Press or no?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I remember you bringing that up, us bringing that up in a previous episode. I was just a little curious. And on page 387, as a follow-up to Regrettable Superheroes and Regrettable Supervillains, there is the League of Regrettable Sidekicks hardcover. Now, I think, did we discuss these books when they first came out? Do you have the League of Regrettable Superheroes and the Legion of Regrettable Supervillains?
I remember us talking about the Regrettable Superheroes book, but no, I did not get either one of those. But that Regrettable Sidekicks, you know me, I like the sidekicks, so that's very tempting.
And on the next page, on page 388, I guess we're kind of in the section of historical type things. This is all from Quirk Books. But Hope Nicholson has a book, The Spectacular Sisterhood of Superwomen hardcover. Now, Hope Nicholson actually appeared on my show, and we were talking about the Secret Lives of Geek Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when she was on. So this was another book I think she was working on at the time. So it's cool to see that it's out. It's considered a reference book. At 240 pages, it is $25. Not bad.
It even mentions Miss Fury in the solicitation text.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously Wonder Woman would be in there, but Miss Fury does earn her spot in there. From Scout Comics on page 396, The Mall #4. I remember they had their free comic book day offering. It looked interesting. I didn't get it at Free Comic Book Day, and I haven't been buying this. Have you been buying The Mall?
No.
Where it's kind of a mix of The Breakfast Club and The Sopranos. That's how they pitch it.
Right. Yeah. We talked about that, I think.
Yeah.
Episode or two ago.
On page 401, I know you and I talked about Starburns Industries Press in the past when we first started. And finally, Comics Quarterly #1 comes out. And that has comedians in it writing comics. And the one that I think everybody would recognize is Patton Oswalt.
Mm-hmm. I just
so looking forward to that.
Yeah, I just read the Gregory Graves book from Starburn.
Okay, I didn't pull the trigger on that one. I really wanted to do it, but it didn't make the cut. How was it?
It was interesting.
Interesting. Okay. Will there be an episode about it?
I don't know. Maybe. Okay. But it's just real briefly. It's very much a spin on the Superman Lex Luthor story.
Mm-hmm. The solicit made it look that way.
Yeah, I mean, more than I thought they would go with it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's very explicit.
Oh, is it? In what way? You mean in the
just
violence?
in terms of it's very much. I mean, they don't even try to
hide it.
It's just very. Yeah. It's a Superman Lex Luthor story from a more realistic angle, so to speak, with different names.
I see. Okay. Also this is a different publisher. I'm sorry. Sterling Publishing, but on the same page 401, Make a Nerdy Living. Turn Your Obsession into Your Profession by Alex Langley. It's a prose book at $14.95. I mean, I have no inkling to make my nerdy passions a hobby unless somehow I can make money on my next project as a podcaster. But hey, isn't that what we all want to do?
See, and I was just going to say that because it mentions specifically how you actually get paid for nerdy passions that range from live streaming video and prop making to writing and cosplay. Nothing about podcasting. So apparently we can't make money at this, George.
No, not at all. Unless, of course, we're already famous people. Seems that I think that's the formula. You already have to be famous to make money at it, and even then, it's not a guarantee. But it's like one of those things. All rectangles are squares, but not all squares are rectangles. All famous people who do podcasts aren't successful. I don't know. There's an analogy in there somewhere. I didn't figure it out. I don't have a script here.
Yeah, maybe the listeners can point us there.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Sergeant America, you know what I'm trying to say. I know you do. All right. I mean, come on, Titan Comics 406, Doctor Who, the 13th Doctor. I know you don't buy into these licensed properties, but we have to call it out that Jody Hauser is writing, Rachel Stott is drawing with colors by Enrica Angiolini. I don't know. I might give it a shot. I don't know. I am excited about the new Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Eric, do you have a date on that yet? It is going to be this year, right? In the fall. It's not going to be 2019.
Think so. Yeah.
Gosh, I hope so. All right. Now I think I'm finally caught up to you. So, again, I have taken over your show by talking about all that other stuff. So, what page are you on, or are you totally done?
I'm done, actually.
Okay, cool. I have on page 466 in the manga section, I just have to say, this is the best title ever. Are you ready?
Hit me.
The hero and his elf bride open a pizza parlor in another world. Written by Kaya Kazaki with art by Shizu.
Oh, that is the title.
That is the title. That's
I thought you were giving me a description and then going to give me the title.
Best title ever. The hero and his elf bride open a pizza parlor in another world.
I don't know. I like the other ones here. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon?
Okay, runner-up maybe? Okay, well, now you're making me look at all of them.
Yeah, I know. High school prodigies have it easy, even in another world.
Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody.
They're kind of on too much on the nose with these titles, I think.
I think so. I have the feeling if you pick them up, they have nothing to do with what those titles say.
No, I think they have too much to do with those titles.
Is that what it is? They don't even have to solicit, right?
There you go. Your solicit and your title is one and the same.
Right. You save space, and that's why they have like 8 or 10 books on the one page. Okay, on the flip side where they have the toys and the apparel, this is for Tony. Remember, folks, my show was called the George and Tony Entertainment Show. There was a guy named Tony, and he was a big Linda Carter Wonder Woman fan. On page 53 of the flip side, this is for Tony. He'll never listen to this, but it's one of those maquette statues at $260.
Oh, yeah.
So, Tony, you are not getting that for Christmas from me, but I just wanted to let you know that it is out there.
$260. Wow.
And I know. And I think I said this on one of the episodes, if not the last one. I said on one of them, I love that it's almost like a renaissance for lapel pins. The cloisonne, am I pronouncing that right? The metal lapel pins.
Okay.
And I noticed for the holidays on page 110, there are holiday-themed Rick and Morty enamel. Oh, they're made of enamel. I'm sorry. Enamel pins. So for Rick and Morty fans, those are out there. For SpongeBob fans, on page 113, there are holiday-themed SpongeBob pins. There are holiday-themed Turtles pins, and there is one holiday-themed Invader Zim pin. So I love that these things are sort of making a comeback.
Yeah, I wonder, I'm going to have to keep an eye out when I go to Rose City Comic Con in a few weeks to see how many pins are present from all the various vendors.
I think it was my first New York Comic Con, and there was a vendor there selling lapel pins that had the logo on it. But they were a pin store as opposed to being a vendor for New York Comic Con merchandise. The characters that were on the pin were old Harvey characters. So I bought a Hot Stuff one. That was really, really nice. I will bet that at Rose City, while you may not necessarily find vendors with the Rose City logo pins, you will find plenty of pins of characters out there, especially since we're seeing them solicited more and more in previews.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Mm-hmm. All right, so which first, Marvel or DC?
Let's do Marvel.
I guess before we get into the big two, we should have a word from our sponsors at this point. This episode of Longbox Review is sponsored by Pogs. You didn't like us in the 90s, and you really don't like us now. And now, back to the show.
Never got into that.
I never understood it.
Okay, so
Is that what the fidget spinners or the Pogs?
Oh,
of
is that
the
the
2000 teens?
yeah,
Is that what it
I
is?
guess.
Yeah.
So Marvel?
Yeah, let's do it.
First up here is the miniseries Spider-Geddon. And I don't know why.
Guy, are you even interested in this?
Yes, actually, and that surprises me. And I think mostly it has to do with the fact that you've got all these alternate universe spider people involved, and I have a trade collection. What is it? Spider-Verse? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have one of their deluxe trade editions of Spider-Verse. I haven't read it yet.
I was going to ask. Okay.
So I think I should read that first, and then maybe I'll pick this up later. But I don't know, that number one cover with all those spider characters. It just I don't know. For some reason, it's appealing to me. I think I want to read some Spider-Man comics because I haven't read a Spider-Man comic in a long time.
But there's the glaring omission of Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. I mean, they've got the little Tsum Tsum Spider-Man over in the lower right, but where's Peter Porker?
Well,
I know he's in an issue.
You mentioned that because he's in the Vault of Spiders #1 of 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
once again, teenage 20-year-old me would have been all over something like this. But there are 8 comics related to this particular month.
Oh yeah.
And this is with the character Morlun. I know I'm mispronouncing. I'm putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable or something, but this is the guy who ate Spider-Man's eye, right?
Okay.
Because this is the one, I forgot what the storyline was that introduced this guy. This whole thing about the spider totems.
Oh yeah.
Feeding off the spider
ate his
powers.
Eye? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I believe so. And I think, is this a 90s story or something? This is like that dark time when I was like, man, what is going on in this comic? But I could be wrong, but I think that's who this guy is. And this is obviously a sequel, though, to the book, the collection you have, the Spider-Verse one. Peter Porker makes it fun, but not fun enough for me to get.
Oh.
But okay, if you're interested in this, which ones of these will you get?
Well, like I said, I probably will pick up Spider-Geddon at some point in trade, but what I will be getting for sure is Spider-Girls. So this is a 3-issue series written by Jody Hauser, Andres Genolet on art, but it's just I like the Spider-Girl characters, especially the one in the black and white spider suit.
Oh yes, mm-hmm.
I can't remember.
We don't see enough of her.
Yeah, exactly. I got her short-lived series many years ago, and I just kind of fell in love with the character. I probably shouldn't get it because eventually they'll collect all of this stuff in a nice oversized trade.
Right.
But I'll get it. And then I mentioned I haven't read a Spider-Man comic in a while. The last Spider-Man comic that I really enjoyed, that I got the whole thing, was Superior Spider-Man with Dr. Octopus inhabiting Peter Parker's body. Well, now they've got Otto Octavius returning in the Superior Octopus. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to get this, but man, it really interests me because that last comic, the Superior Spider-Man, was so good.
You're not the only one to say that, but I did buy Spider-Man 700 where it happened, and I said, I'm out. And
really?
I didn't buy any. Yeah, I didn't buy any of them.
Wow.
I was done. So it was like a hashtag, not my Spider-Man or something, but I considered that my jumping off.
Oh, that's too bad.
And I've really had no interest, even though I've heard raves like you just gave. I have no interest. Now, I did buy the collection of the Superior Foes of Spider-Man. I
heard that was good too. I haven't read that one.
Yeah, it's one of those darn things that's on the shelf that I haven't read yet. But I look forward to reading that, but I don't think I'm ever going to read the Superior Spider-Man stuff.
I thought it was probably one of the best things to happen to Spider-Man comics in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you think went on too long?
No.
Because it was one of those things that came out every other week, right? It was a bi-monthly thing, right?
Was it? I don't remember now.
Because it seemed like it went for a lot of issues, but had it been monthly, it would have lasted far more than it actually did.
You're probably right, yeah. No, I thought it was, in fact, I kind of wanted more. So I thought it was an okay run.
All right, and I do trust your opinion, so all right, I may be swayed.
A lot of people would disagree with me, so based on the comments I read and heard about.
Well, you know what? The guys that never stay dead. Which one of them does the Spider-Man show, or did the Spider-Man show?
Matt, he does, yeah.
Matt. Did Matt like it?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
I'm trying to think, because they made mention of a couple of things at the end of the Galactus episode. I'm trying to remember, but I don't think this one. I don't think he likes Dan Slott, though.
Yes, I think that's correct.
So if that's the case, he probably was not a fan of the Superior Spider-Man,
probably
I would guess.
No.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out maybe in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Avengers Halloween special again, in line with the holiday.
That's going to be tough for me to turn down because Marvel doesn't do a whole lot of holiday themed comics.
Yeah,
especially Halloween. So
it's almost like against their model or something like that. But I'm glad they're doing it too.
So I probably will get this.
I mean, look at this cast of Jerry Dugan, the Soska sisters, Robbie Thompson, Jay Baruchel, Rob Fee. I mean, man.
There's actually a lot of names on here I don't recognize. So
I don't recognize any of the artists, I have to admit.
I think this is kind of a tryout book, perhaps, for them.
Yeah.
Or I'm just totally ignorant on these great artists and writers that I don't recognize.
How much do you get into the Black Panther comics? Because they've got Shuri #1 here.
Yeah, I heard about this a while back that they're bringing Shuri in as a title character of her own book. So that's really cool. I mean, Shuri from the movie made a huge impact on a lot of people, including myself. She was one of my favorite characters in that movie. I also liked her from the Jonathan Hickman written Avengers stories featuring Black Panther. So yeah, that was good stuff.
Now, how about the Infinity Wars? Here's another thing that what does this have? This has 6 titles associated with it this month between the Infinity Wars and the Infinity Warps.
Yeah. Those warps things are kind of fun, but yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, maybe the Soldier Supreme, #2 of 2. I think we talked about this last month too. All right. Then what about see, I can't believe I'm not even excited about the Infinity Wars. I'm just not. 25 years ago, I would have loved it. Things change, I guess. Which makes me wonder, people who are our age, who are Marvel zombies, is this for them? Or is this the attempt to get people in their 20s to read? You know what I mean? And
I think it's both.
And I'd be very surprised that people our age would be interested in this, but you know, it's different strokes, different folks kind of thing. And sometimes you can't understand why people think differently than you do. So more power to you, but I can't get into it. I just can't. I don't know why. And even like the Return of Wolverine, again, I would have been all over this half my life ago, but I just can't get into it. What about you?
No.
Wolverine
is a character that has his place in the Marvel universe and stuff. I just think he's overdone.
Yeah, I do too. And I mean, you knew he was coming back eventually.
Oh yeah.
And this return doesn't even interest me.
No.
But I know what probably interests you is on the next page, on page 24.
Yes, the Unstoppable Wasp is back, baby. I can't wait for this. And it should be noted that what we see here, Unstoppable Wasp #1 of 5, that is incorrect. It is an ongoing series. Apparently, there was a screw up when preparing for the Marvel Previews catalog that indicated that this was a miniseries. It is not a miniseries. So people should jump on this and buy all the copies because, and third time being called out, Jeremy Whitley writing this.
Yeah.
With,
you think we were fans or something?
Yeah, I certainly am.
Yeah.
The artist is...
I never know how to pronounce it.
Gurihiro?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for this. That first Unstoppable Wasp series was such a delight, a surprise, a delight, wonderful, wonderful book. Everybody should read it.
Cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people were waiting for that to come back. On the other hand, I'm not quite sure everybody was hoping for the Shatterstar miniseries that's coming number 1 of 5, or even the Black Panther versus Deadpool number 1 of 5. I'm not sure.
No.
I'm for this stuff.
Talk about. I think Deadpool's the new overused character in the Marvel universe.
Yeah,
I know. I'm probably going to lose some listeners based on these comments, but yeah.
And then on pages 20 and 29, this weekly X-Men Black thing. Magneto, Mojo, Mystique, Juggernaut, and Emma Frost each get a one-shot. And there's a backup story in each one, a chapter of X-Men Black Apocalypse. For all you Marvel zombies out there, I'm sorry, but I don't care.
What about the what ifs?
One of them too. Was one of them too. What?
What about the what ifs? Speaking of an old property,
I love what ifs. And now, how many what ifs were there? There were 10 to choose from. Oh no, I'm sorry. There are 6 what ifs, but 10 in the True Believers. So let's start with the what ifs.
Yeah.
The completionist in me wants to get them all because I'm a big what if fan. However, I am probably only going, if I'm going to get any, I would get the Magic one. What if any interested you?
Thor.
Thor. Okay,
definitely
the Thor one.
But I will say, as far as the Magic one goes, that's not necessarily a character that I'm really into. But the Jeff DeCal cover almost makes me want to buy this just to get that cover.
Just have the cover.
and there's an action figure variant by John Tyler Christopher, also a wonderful artist. He's actually doing the action figure variants. It looks like for all of them.
Yes.
Yeah. So I might have to look at all those variant covers by him. But that Jeff DeCal cover, I just dig his stuff.
Did you notice throughout this there's a theme to a couple of their variant covers? It's called the Marvel Battle Lines variants. I don't think they've appeared yet because we're kind of like in the spotlight section of the book. But unlike the DC previews, Marvel at the beginning of their previews doesn't call out, or at least this time they didn't call out, the special variants that the theme that they have for that particular month. So as we go forward and they have these Battle Lines covers, I don't even know what Battle Lines means. Like, is that a video game or something?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But anyway, back to the What If True Believer stuff, those $1 comics, like you were talking about the Fantastic Four ones. There are great ones here. I mean, here you go. What if Jane Foster had found the Hammer of Thor? That's a classic one and kind of timely with her being Thor. A couple of other ones. There's an Infinity Gauntlet related one, a Legion one. Fantastic. I mean, I remember all these. These are great.
I think I've actually read most of these.
Yeah. So I guess you were a What If fan back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
One of my earliest comics was a What If with Spider-Man. And I just kind of fell in love with that concept.
So here you go. You have 6 what ifs to choose from, plus 10 True Believer what ifs. So that's 16 alternate versions of Marvel comic stories. All right, what's next on your? Anything else in here? I know Thor is on your pull list.
Yes. Yep. Thor, Avengers. I think that's actually it right now. I'll be getting, like I said, Unstoppable Wasp. But yeah, now I have trades towards the back there. So if there's anything else that you want to point out?
Okay, real quick. Tony Stark Iron Man number 5 it looks like Iron Man 2020 is finally coming in. I always wondered when they would do this. Arno Stark is going to be there.
Oh.
I mean, we're in 2018, and I don't know when Iron Man 2020 first appeared, but it had to be like 35, 40 years ago, right? So here we are on page 55. Now we're getting the pull list stuff. I just want to say I read Fantastic Four #1 today. Did you read it by any chance?
I haven't got it. I mean, I'm sorry. I've got it. I haven't read it.
It is definitely on my pull list. #3 is solicited here, and I'll make an admission right now. I listen to plenty of podcasts, yours included, Never Stay Dead. But there are other podcasts I listen to where somebody says, I mean, they say it all too often. Oh, I just read this comic and it gave me the feels and I teared up, or it made me cry or something like that. I'm like, come on, I just read that comic. That didn't. I mean, I see there was an emotional punch in there, but it didn't make me cry. Come on.
Wait, are you cold and dead inside, George?
When a certain part in Fantastic Four #1 comes up, I swear to you, Eric, I felt that thing that they are trying to convey. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is what I feel like when I hear the national anthem at an opening, when I hear the Olympic theme at the opening ceremonies of an Olympics, or our national anthem when we won something on the international stage. I get that swelling and almost like a tear comes to my eye. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I can't believe I just had that emotion in this Fantastic Four book. Then I started to think of those people. And I'm saying to myself, come on, there is no way that this happens to you as often as you say it happens to you. I know you're probably trying to make an exaggeration to get your point across, but I mean, that feeling, you shouldn't minimize it when it happens for real. And if it happens for real for them, then they must cry at the drop of a hat. But I actually felt that. And that's the first time I've felt that with a comic in a long time. So I wanted to bring that up.
I'm really looking forward to reading that. You know what does that for me? Not comic wise. All those videos of soldiers coming home and surprising their loved ones. Oh my God.
Yes.
Cry like a baby.
And I'm not so sure, looking back on the emotion that was hitting me when I read that particular part of the comic. I think it was more I was excited. It was like that wait for it moment, because you can't have a Fantastic Four book unless they're all together, right? So it was like that wait for it moment because something was going to happen. And I guess I was overwhelmed by that excitement. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Page 56, Marvel 2-in-1 will continue. Number 11 has The Thing and Mr. Fantastic on my pull list. Page 66, I'm interested in Moon Knight number 200. I haven't read Moon Knight in ages, but I did like that original run back in the 80s. So I'm a little interested to see what this anniversary issue is. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 36 on my pull list. On page 77, there's another one of those cover homages, this time to X-Men number 137, the Dark Phoenix saga. And what was that? 77? What comic was that? That was an X-Men event, Extermination number 4 of 5. So I guess it's kind of appropriate, apropos that they make a little homage to themselves. Multiple Man number 5 of 5, page 78. Not on my pull list or anything, but I think Multiple Man is popular enough to remind everybody that that miniseries was out there. On page 82, Exiles number 9, that's on my pull list. And on page 93, I'm not buying any of the Star Wars stuff, but looks like Darth Vader's doing alas, poor whomever you are, Vader knew you well, on the cover of Star Wars. Okay, so what trades do you have?
Okay, 102 Infinity Gauntlet Deluxe Edition hardcover, Jim Starlin, George Perez, Ron Lim, the classic miniseries. From 1991. This is one of those books. So there are certain series in my collection where over the decades I've often wished that I had a nice collected edition, specifically a hardcover edition, and this is one of them. So I will be hard pressed to take that off of my buy list.
Okay.
Not that I have the issues. I can pull them out anytime and read them, but I don't know. For some reason, just having a hardcover on my bookshelf that I can pull off and look at any time to see this wonderful George Perez art with Ron Lim. I really want that.
Yeah.
And then next to it is I think the last Jim Starlin Thanos original graphic novel, the Infinity Conflict.
It's the second one, and I think it's a trilogy.
I think this is the third one.
Well, because it says don't miss the second volume of Starlin's wildest adventure yet.
Does it really? I think that's a misprint.
Oh, okay.
Second volume?
Yeah, because wasn't the first one the one with him and Star Fox on the cover?
I must be confused then, because I thought, okay, because I have two of them already.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's
maybe it isn't
Infinity Revelation. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I must be confused.
I think that was a previous trilogy. This is another one. This comes after the Infinity.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. You're right. No, you're right. But I think this is the last one he's doing for Marvel because they had some sort of blow up.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah. You're right. I think you're right. This is the second of another trilogy, but it like I said, it might be the last one he's doing. Anyway, I'm gonna get it because I've gotten all the others because I like Starlin's stuff. I love Alan Davis's art.
Nice. Are you going to color your own X-Men on page 105?
No, I don't think so. I bought, like you, I got some of those coloring books, superhero coloring books or whatever, and they just kind of sit there. I haven't really colored in them a whole lot. So,
besides for the Infinity Gauntlet, what about the Marvel's remastered edition on page 106?
That's another one.
That?
I have a trade from a long time ago that I got. In fact, I think it was a used trade. So having a new one, a remastered edition, that might be nice to have.
Any others?
On 112, there is Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was a miniseries that recently wrapped up, I believe, by Mark Waid and Javier Guerin. Just because the Wasp is in it and Mark Waid is writing it, I want to get basically everything that the Unstoppable Wasp is in. I guess I fell in love with that character. And then finally, Al Ewing and Joe Bennett's The Immortal Hulk Volume 1 trade.
Jump in, huh?
Yeah, I've heard such good things about it. I love Al Ewing's work that he's done for Marvel so far. And so even though I think we talked about this before, I'm not a Hulk fan. So I passed on it, but then I kept hearing how good it is. So I'm gonna get the first trade and see how it goes.
Good.
What about you? Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Should we go to DC?
Let's do it. And in your case, being the DC fan you are, is this considered the best for last?
I would. Well, maybe. We talked about the Avengers Halloween special. So DC, not to be outdone, DC has their own version of this. They're doing the Cursed Comics Cavalcade.
Again, alliteration.
Yeah. 80 pages, $10. Bunch of stories featuring the DC characters.
And I'll say it again, and hopefully I'll say it better this time. A little alliteration alights a nation.
Ooh, very nice.
That's how I wanted to say it before, but I screwed up. Now, would you get something like that, though? The Comics Cavalcade?
Oh, yeah.
Comics Cavalcade?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to get the holiday-themed comics.
And being the Batman fan you are on the previous page, on page 2, the Batman Secret Files, or no?
I got to think about that one.
Okay.
I saw that too, and I'm like, I don't know.
Because there's a special story by Tom Taylor with art by Brad Walker that teams the Dark Knight with Detective Chimp. Yeah,
see, you say Detective Chimp, and you've almost guaranteed a buy for me.
And what do you think about these? What do you make of these blank comics on pages 4 and 5? I mean, are these truly blank on the inside so that you can draw your own comics?
Yeah, I think it's a crazy concept, and I can't believe they're doing this.
And
how many people are actually going to buy these comics so they can draw their own Batman comic? I don't know.
Now, do you think
weird.
All of a sudden now people will go to conventions and besides for asking for commissions on covers, maybe they'll have one person do one page, one person do another page, whatever?
That's what I think how these are going to be used more so than some aspiring comic book artists wanting to create their own comic book per se.
What is this 24-hour comics day? You know, at the beginning of previews, there's a monthly calendar of some special events like Doctor Who Day or Free Comic Book Day or whatever. I didn't see a 24-hour comics day being solicited or celebrated on the October calendar. So what is 24-hour comics day? What is that?
Well, that's all I know of it is that that's the day that certain artists and aspiring artists get make a comic within 24 hours from beginning to end. So whatever time they start, they have 24 hours to do a complete comic.
Oh, so that must be sometime in October or November.
Yeah, I had no idea when it was.
Maybe it's after Inktober. You know how the artists do a picture a day in Inktober on a Day.
I can't wait for that.
There was my local comic shop, Comic Logic, actually had a contest one time for people to make an 8-page comic.
Ooh.
They set up the panels probably the way this book is set up. You bought it for like $2.99 or whatever, and you got to make your own comic, and there was a contest for it. I bought the comic. I never did anything with it. But have we discussed this? You used to write and draw your own comics when you were a kid, right?
Not really, kind of, sort of. I would draw, but I never made my own comic, but I wrote stories featuring original characters, superhero characters.
Yeah. Yeah. We would sit in we had what we would call a Florida room outside in the summertime. So all of us in the neighborhood would get together and we'd draw comics and make up things, and we would read and trade comics and stuff. A heck of a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I still have some of that stuff. And you could tell my progression from kindergarten art to high school art to where I plateaued, and that was as good as I was going to get. What else you have here, man? The Books of Magic and Lucifer from Vertigo, any interest?
No, I think I've decided to pass on those. I'm getting some of the other Sandman Universe books, but not those two.
Okay, Heroes in Crisis #2 on page 8 on my pull list.
Yep.
I know we can't go by these solicits 100%, but the murder mystery aspect is the least exciting part of this series, as far as I'm concerned. And I think we discussed that last month. But it in no way makes me not want to get this. What about the weekly Wonder Woman Justice League Dark Witching Hour thing going on here?
Yeah, I was going to mention that too, but despite the fact that it appears that Detective Chimp is part of it, I don't know. I'll kind of wait and see how that goes.
Well, it runs through Wonder Woman and Justice League Dark, The Witching Hour #1, Wonder Woman #56, Justice League Dark #4, Wonder Woman #57. And then they just switched the names around, Justice League Dark and Wonder Woman, The Witching Hour #1.
Yeah, it's going to be hard because I'm getting Justice League Dark, and so I'm going to get half the story for, well, it looks like one issue of Justice League Dark. So I hate that.
I do too.
But I don't like being compelled to get the rest of this.
Right. It's almost like a matter of principle at that point. Any interest in this Drowned Earth prelude stuff going on in Justice League and Aquaman?
Well, Justice League is on my pull list, so I'll probably get it. Did you notice, though, that they're doing these foiled covers?
Oh, yes. And in fact, that was something I alluded to before, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up, where Marvel didn't really explain their variant covers. Here, DC is telling us what they're doing.
Yeah.
Over here. In fact, they're very clear about it. They have a list of who's getting these foil enhanced covers.
Yeah.
Now, none of these are going to make me buy something I wasn't already going to buy, though.
No. In fact, it kind of ticks me off that they're doing this. I hate cover gimmicks.
Yeah.
Just give me a damn good cover. I don't. Why do they have to try and pretty it up? Well, I wouldn't even say pretty it up, but just why do they have to enhance it in any way? I just foil enhanced, die cut crap. Just stop it.
But people buy them. Again, it's not in my mind to buy them, so I can't get behind them on that, or I can't understand it. But all right.
But I will say,
if you're going to buy the Flash because it looked pretty, I don't know.
Well, I was just going to say, I will contradict myself and say, but I kind of like the look of the Batgirl one.
So what do you have next after page 13?
Well, I guess to to buy into or to horn in on, that's probably the better phrase, the success of Old Man Logan.
Mm-hmm.
At Marvel, they're doing Old Lady Harley,
Mm-hmm.
a miniseries here.
Well, their version of the person who's been overexposed, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. So do you want to talk about the next?
Thierry and Maurice T. or Morissette? I don't know how you pronounce the artist's name.
Morissette.
Morissette? Okay. With the variant cover by Amanda Connor. Yeah, I guess since my last name's Hannah, and DC is crossing over yet again with Hanna-Barbera characters, I guess I have to be the one to talk about this. Yes. So I'm just going to ramble through them. Deathstroke Yogi Bear by Frank Tierra and Mark Texeira. Green Lantern and Huckleberry Hound, Mark Russell and Rick Leonardi. Nightwing and Magilla Gorilla by Heath Corson and Tom Grummett. And Superman and Top Cat by Dan DiDio and Shane Davis. And there are a bunch of backups in each one about, it's a 4-part story about Secret Squirrel by J.M. DeMatteis. And it looks like the art on that will be by Tom Mandrake, which is pretty cool. Buy on all 4, only 1 or 2 interest you, none, what?
No, I don't think so. But it's funny because I wasn't into these as they've been doing them, but then they did the Batman Elmer Fudd with Tom King writing, and I just thought that was so good.
Yeah, these have been hit or miss. I've been buying them all. I guess I'm just not fully appreciating these updated versions of these Saturday morning cartoon characters. It's like the Archie thing. It's not like I was buying Archie, but I'm not appreciating this updated version of Archie, so I'm not buying it. These updated versions of these characters I almost wish that they did it like they did. What was it in the 90s when the DC characters met the Looney Tunes characters, but they were the Looney Tunes characters. They weren't updated in any sort of way.
Oh, I see, yeah.
They were the cartoon characters. Right. They were just the way they were. What they're doing with the Looney Tunes characters, now the Hanna-Barbera characters, not so much, but I'm going to get them all. But I do question the Huckleberry Hound one because, well, I didn't read the entire series yet. I thought Huckleberry Hound committed suicide in the Snagglepuss one.
Oh, really?
And this is supposed to take place after Green Lantern John Stewart gets back from Vietnam. But I thought the Snagglepuss thing took place well before that.
Huh.
So I don't know. And both were written by Mark Russell.
I was going to say, out of the 4, you got Mark Russell writing it. So that makes me kind of wanting to buy it.
Right.
Based on his track record.
If I were to make one choice, even though I intend to get all 4, Top Cat out of the 4 Hanna-Barbera characters here is my favorite. So if I had to whittle it down, it would be Superman Top Cat.
See, Huckleberry Hound was my favorite.
Ah, there you go. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could do an impersonation of Huckleberry Hound because that would have been appropriate. But unfortunately, I cannot.
Yeah.
All right. And anything else in the spotlight section? I mean, there's only one more thing.
No.
Yeah. I mean, this Vertigo 25-year milestone, but I mean, I wouldn't pick that up. But for all you fans out there, the celebration's out there for $39.99. Okay, what do you have? What's on your pull list?
Well, there's just a lot.
Yep.
I'm getting the Batman, Supermans, Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the Dreaming.
Oh, you are getting the Dreaming?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Hawkman.
Have you read number 1 yet?
I've read number 1 and 2.
And?
I love it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. This is a preview of what I talk about because I recorded an episode that will be released after this at some point about Hawkman number 1. So
cool. Okay, yeah. I'll look forward to that.
Loved it. And then
I'm I'm still buying Plastic Man. I'm going to be in it to the end since I know it's only 6 issues. But again, I'm not totally enjoying it, which is one of those things like, so then why are you buying it, George? But it's Plastic Man, and I don't know. It's like a hashtag, not my Plastic Man, but I'm still going to get it.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the vein of I'm still getting it,
mm-hmm.
Sideways.
Yeah, same here. I just bought. I was away, so I don't know if Sideways was this week or last week, but I had like 3 weeks worth of comics to pick up. So Sideways was in there.
Yeah, and so they're soliciting the Sideways annual, and this is what I've been really waiting for when they first announced this book.
Mm-hmm.
Grant Morrison is co-writing the annual with Dan DiDio,
mm-hmm.
and it also features the jean and t-shirt wearing New 52 Superman. So
mm-hmm. Didn't he die?
Yeah,
I thought he died.
What's up with that? Right?
That's weird.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I'll be getting that, so we'll find out. When I was a kid, I liked the comic book Night Force. And I find it interesting that Marv Wolfman is putting Night Force, a new Night Force, in this Raven, Daughter of Darkness, number 9. Good old Baron Winters is back and creating a new Night Force. So, I mean, it's not like I'm going to buy it, but interesting that they're putting them back into continuity. And the whole way that they're treating what you and I would consider the Teen Titans,
mm-hmm.
like Cyborg is a Justice League guy. It seems like he was never part of the Titans in this continuity. Raven is totally different, it seems. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, especially being a Teen Titans fan. I'd love to hear what you and Peter Rios have to say about that.
Yeah, it's a little rough for me, but it's comics, and things change over time, and I'm okay with that, generally speaking.
True.
I don't have to like everything. I don't have to read everything. So, eventually I'm sure those concepts, those versions will come back. It might be a while, but eventually I'll get them back. And besides, I can go back and reread all those lovely new Teen Titans comics.
Oh yeah, they were great. So, man, they were great. I wouldn't mind revisiting them.
After 30 plus years, it's almost like the comics are new again.
Yeah,
to me,
you're right. On page 50, Scooby Apocalypse number 30, and I bring this up because I think it's amazing that this title has lasted this long.
Yeah.
It's by Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis with art by Patrick Olive.
That's right.
He mentioned when he was on your show that he was going to move on to Scooby Apocalypse. He's been doing it for a while now, and Tom Palmer is helping him out there. Yeah, so this was part of that first wave of the Hanna-Barbera reboot type things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only one to have lasted.
Which totally surprises me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Because I remember looking at that concept and going, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah,
really?
And the fun, and when I jumped on, I read the Wacky Raceland, and I hated it. It was horrible. God, did I hate that! And Wacky Races was one of my favorite cartoons. So I was so disappointed. But Scooby-Doo Team Up always hits the mark. Number 43 has the Doom Patrol.
Yes. Yeah.
Charlie Fish and Dario Brizuela. Well, Charlie Fish writes all these all the time, right? So,
yeah. I'm really enjoying those team ups with the various choices that they've been making. And Doom Patrol is one of one of Travis's favorite concepts in comics altogether. And so I asked him on Twitter if he was getting this, but I don't think he saw that tweet. So I'll have to ask him again next time I talk to him.
Yeah, I saw that tweet, and I didn't see his response, and now I know why. Are you buying Teen Titans or Titans?
I'm getting Titans. I got the Teen Titans special that came out, but I decided not to continue with it.
Okay, it is by Adam Glass.
Yeah, and I
did Rough Riders.
Yeah, I did enjoy the Teen Titans special more than I thought I would, and so I kind of regretted not jumping on the Teen Titans as well. But I get so many DC books, I gotta cut something somewhere.
And the art's by Bernard Chang. Looks like they introduced some interesting characters in there, but I'm not getting that either. How do you like Titans, though?
I not so great, but I've also only read 2 issues, so I'm gonna give it a few more.
I'm digging the Terrifics. Are you digging the Terrific?
Again, I'm enjoying it to a certain degree.
This whole Tom Strong thing that's going on, not too sure about it because I didn't read any of that stuff, but I don't think it really matters.
No, it doesn't. I read a little bit of that, and I enjoyed Tom Strong from years back. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops.
On page 62, The Unexpected, which I seem to recall your pull quote of being confusingly portrayed. Are you getting The Unexpected?
No, no longer. I had pre-ordered up to issue 3, and knew after issue 1 I should not have gotten this. No, such a disappointment. And I did talk about it in a recent episode. Yeah,
I admire that on your show you will review books that, regardless whether or not they were A+ in your book or a D- in your book or anywhere in between. I admire that you do that, because most people would only talk about books they love, or in the old 80-20 rule, 80% liked and maybe had 20% qualms with. I admire that no matter what, you will review a book, you'll talk about it, you'll give us your opinions and how you felt about things, whether it's good or bad. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, but I do actually try to only talk about books that I really like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you could have stopped yourself from making that episode.
Well, I kind of had committed myself just because I wanted to do it, just to talk about those New Age of Heroes books that I decided to buy. And so I felt like even though I didn't like the book, I wanted to complete the series. That whole completionist mentality.
Oh, what else do you have, man? DC's your thing, so I'm letting you run.
All-Star Superman, there's a new trade version of that by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. One of the best Superman stories of all time. This is, again, one of those story collections that I wish I had. I have the issues, but I'd really like to have a trade I can pull off the shelf and thumb through anytime.
Okay, so I'm like the mirror image of you on this one. Are you ready?
Okay.
I've never read it, but I have the hardcover omnibus type thing on my bookshelf just waiting to be read.
Are you kidding me?
And it's one of those things that I know it's going to be as good as everybody says it is, and I want to be able to just read it, almost like Tony used to say about his ROM collection. I'm going to wait. He used to say, I'm going to wait till I retire, sit out on my porch with a cigar, read all my ROMs, read all my comics. And I was like, gee, that's kind of crazy. But I'm waiting for that opportunity where I can just I'm waiting for a snowstorm is what I'm waiting for. We haven't had one in a while. I'm waiting for that blizzard so I can sit down with it and relax and just read right through it and appreciate it.
George, we're not getting any younger.
I know. Isn't it the silliest thing?
Do not wait. Seize the day, George. Seize the day.
When I saw this, I was reminded of it being on the bookshelf. What else? I know you have a lot of trades, probably.
Yeah, too many, unfortunately. But one book I was looking forward to reading that I decided to wait for the trade is Magdalene Visaggio and Sonny Liu's Eternity Girl. This was a miniseries, 6-issue miniseries. When I saw this, I read the solicitation for it. I saw a tweet from Magdalene Visaggio, and I said to her, "I'm going to get this." So I plan on getting it.
Cool.
And then what was the next one? Oh, a few pages later, Harley's Little Black Book trade.
Oh, okay.
Now I know, you mentioned, the Harley Quinn being overused at DC Comics. Totally agree with you. However, I did get this Little Black Book series of comics and absolutely loved them.
Oh, cool.
So I highly recommend, if you're a fan of Harley Quinn and the silliness that she brings to the DC universe, this is a trade you should get.
Now, what about something like on page 84, the Teen Titans Silver Age Volume 2? Would you be buying that or no?
I have the hardcover edition of that already.
Okay. Oh, right. It's a trade paperback.
Yeah, this is a trade.
On page 84. Okay. Now, what did you think about
I would recommend it.
Definitely, I would think so. Now, what about a very DC Rebirth holiday sequel? This is kind of weird, isn't it? It's also on page 84.
Yeah.
Isn't it odd? It's like it's the same holiday special from last year, but it includes other, I guess, holiday themed
issues. Yeah, Green Arrow, Batgirl, Trinity 16. That I have to go look that one up because I have that title. But yeah, that's just bizarre.
Yeah, very strange.
But we're coming up on Christmas time, so here's your Christmas collection. Although I guess.
They do it again this year, a 2018 version.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so, for sure. Yeah. But, I haven't read not a lot. I haven't read 2 of the 4 stories that are in here, titles that are in here.
Yeah, but for $16.99.
Yeah, it's not worth it to me for that.
But I guess if somebody didn't get last year's, here's an easy way to get it. It's a couple of extra stories, right?
I guess we just have to we should maybe start thinking about that, George. Instead of getting the one holiday issue, wait for next year and you get a trade with some extra stuff that you maybe haven't read.
Yeah, you never know. I can't wait, but
I know that's the problem.
Now? I would recommend this to anybody who's got the money to spare. The Wonder Woman, Phil Jimenez omnibus hardcover for $75, 856 pages. Man, that's just going to be. You don't even have to read it. That's going to be beautiful to look at. But he's a good writer too. And let's see, Wonder Woman 164 through 188, Wonder Woman: Our Worlds at War #1. DC Special, Return of Donna Troy 1 through 4, and stories from Wonder Woman Secret Files #2 and 3. Man, look at that cover.
Fortunately, I have most of that stuff, so I don't have to get this.
Yeah.
Yeah, his Wonder Woman is just beautiful to look at.
Not kidding.
Did you? Are you getting Mr. Miracle?
I'm buying it. It just like Plastic Man. It's one of those things that I'm not really. I'm liking it, but for some reason I'm thinking I should be enjoying it more than I really am.
That's it. Yeah. I'm hearing that from other people as well. I am loving it, but you get the trade soliciting for those people who like to wait for those things.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a good read in trade.
And I have committed myself to reread it all when it's done, especially if I find the ending didn't land for me for some reason. Then I think I want to read it all, and maybe there's some connection. I don't want a podcaster to put it all together for me. I want to put it all together myself. Yeah. So I want to make sure to avoid any podcast where anybody talks about that issue in particular, which I know they probably will, because I want to figure it all out for myself. We all, but I will say that artwork is amazing. The way the panels are laid out, and I know the two of them are working to get, Tom King and Mitch Gerads. Am I pronouncing his name right? Gerads.
I believe it's Gerads. Yeah.
I know they're working in tandem on how they want those pages laid out. I mean, I know it's not just Mitch doing it. I know the two of them have to be just the way the script is. One issue comes to mind where the issue where Big Barda and Mr. Miracle are going through something in Apocalypse to get to, I guess, Darkseid's throne room or whatever. And they're talking about mundane things, about redecorating a room. I'm not going to give anything away if anybody hasn't been reading about why they're talking about that stuff. But the way the panels are laid out, now that interests me. But the whole overall story isn't doing it for me. And that's the thing that I think I'm missing something. So I will go back and revisit it when it's all done.
We'll have to talk about that after we've both read the whole thing.
Yeah, and
See what we
especially
think.
since I don't, when it comes to the New Gods, I know nothing, and I don't think you need to know anything to read this book. But out of all of them, Mr. Miracle would be the one that I know the most about, and I know very little about him. But I think I know enough that the book should do it for me. I even think you could come in blind to this book and enjoy it at some level, but I do think there are some nuances where you do need a little background to at least understand the relationships between some of these people. For instance, when the Furies show up at the hospital, I feel that would have had more impact if I just had more history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, good book, great creators. Check it out. I know everybody listening to this is already reading it, so I'm not telling anybody anything they don't. Unless for some reason somebody who listened to the George and Tony Entertainment Show was listening to this, and most of my listeners aren't really comic book readers because we talked about other things. So if any of you are listening, give Mr. Miracle a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some of the other things that Eric and I have talked about over the last 16, 17 hours.
Well, speaking of that, George, is there anything else you want to point out from DC?
No, and this is the point where the late Jerry Lewis would have sat down, sang some sort of ballad, and let us know what the final tally was. And I've been keeping track, Eric, and I want to let everybody know that the final tally of everything that Eric and I have mentioned is only a mere piddling $67,552.72. So you can do more, folks. You can do more. Buy more comics. Bring us up to that $94,699.03 goal that we have for this issue of previews. You can do it, folks. Come on. Make that call. Another $50. Do it.
I'll let them do that. I gotta pinch some pennies here.
Yeah, don't we all?
All right.
And once again, was this another episode where we were a little more negative than positive for all the books that we were talking about?
I don't think so. I thought
I hope not. That's not our goal.
I think we were a lot more positive than perhaps last time.
Just as an update to let everybody know, I did have bought even though I say I penny pinch and stuff, I have bought a couple of the things I think you and I have talked about on past episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, I read The Many Deaths of Scott Koblish. I think you and I talked about this book. I'm holding it up for nobody to see but you. And this was an easy read because they're all wordless comic strips, but it's a fun read. And you and I talked about this. You said you weren't going to get it, but I did pull the trigger on Green Almonds from Palestine. Letters from Palestine. I haven't read it yet. I will let you know how it is. And one book that you said that you have read, Hero Squared Omnibus. You said you read Hero Squared, didn't you?
I read, I think, a Comixology free issue.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't read the whole thing.
All right. Written by Keith Giffen and Jim DeMatteis.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And one last thing that I said I was going to get that I haven't read yet, mostly because I was on vacation, from Lion Forge. Ghost Money, Death in Dubai.
Ah, you'll have to let me know how that is.
Yeah, when the issues were coming out, I was very interested in it. I didn't do it, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get the compilation. And sure enough, it came out in a nice hardcover, and I picked it up. So I'll let you know how it is. So yeah, as much as Eric and I may complain about the cost of things, there are one or two trade paperbacks or original graphic novels that we do eventually pick up,
mm-hmm.
and we enjoy. It's not all doom and gloom and curmudgeonly here.
No, it's really all about the love of comic books.
It is. I'm the one who brings the curmudgeonliness here, and I apologize for that. But thank you for keep inviting me back.
Of course. Well, it is late, and shall we get out of here, George? So you can go to bed and maybe get up in a few hours and go to work?
Well, once again, it wasn't about us. It was about Sergeant America getting to his destination safely, and I think he just pulled into the parking lot, so I think we can go now.
You're welcome, Sergeant.
Man. Woof.
All right. Yeah, let's pull the trigger on this and say we're done.
Yes.
So, George, thank you for joining me on this wonderful trek through comic book previews, catalogs.
Thanks. And I guess the length of this episode just lets everybody know what great stuff there is out there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right. George, why don't you tell people how they can follow you, get a hold of you?
Oh, yes. I haven't been on Facebook in a while, and I hope to remedy that situation. It is George and Tony Entertainment on Facebook. I tweet a lot these days, and I'm at George and Tony on Twitter. And the show is still out there in the archives. The Realm Network has been kind enough to leave us up, although I don't know how much longer they will do that. You can go to Realm Network to check us out, or you can check out the full archive at georgeandtony.libsyn.com. The full 200 episode run of the George and Tony Entertainment Show is out there. And I think, I should be prepared whenever I come on your show, Eric, but I think you were on 10 episodes? No, there's no way you were on. Were you on 10?
I don't recall, actually.
Well,
that sounds about right.
Well, find the episodes with Eric out there. Definitely some of the later numbered episodes of the George and Tony Entertainment Show where Eric comes on. And one of those episodes, we didn't talk about comics at all.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should have you on it and not talk about comics.
No, well, your show is comic centric. My show was not comic centric.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's why I have the Gutters imprint. I can talk about whatever the hell I want.
That's true, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sure. Right. You can do whatever you want. Sure. Yeah.
So if you would like to be like George and share what you have bought out of previews, especially for things that George or myself might have recommended, please let me know. And you can do that by emailing me at longboxreview@gmail.com. Or you can leave comments at the blog, longboxreview.com, or you can chat with me, as always, on Twitter, at longboxreview. So, George, thank you again for joining me.
Thanks. I know you always get the last word, but I do have to remind everybody, we used to say rest in peace, Jerry Reed. Today, of all things, we have to say rest in peace, Aretha Franklin.
That, of course, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. I will talk at you guys later. Bye-bye.